Yo, just giving myself a mic check. All right, cool. We off in this thing. All right, this how we gonna do this. We're gonna get straight to the point, man. And really cook on a subject that's long and overdue, right? We're just gonna get another quick one in real quick. Um, First off, I want to talk about exactly what the subject and the title suggest. Judging and assessing. This is how I judge. All right. Just getting you an understanding on how that go. Let me go ahead and make sure this is straight. This is supposed to be. This is how I judge. All right. So let everybody get in here. We ain't gonna do too much on the music thing today. We're gonna go ahead and get straight to the meat and potatoes so we can really get some understanding. I don't want to waste too much time. All right, so you guys will come in as you please. You guys know what to do by now. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good introductory stuff. That's cool. That's fine. All right, so what I'm here to talk about is my position on judging and analyzing and assessing fights. Let me get this straight off the top. When it comes down to judging and rendering an opinion, whether it be objective or subjective, I use a clean slate of understanding, meaning that I don't come into a situation with preconceived notions in the midst of the fight. Now, I use preconceived notions, subjective opinions, objective opinions, tangible evidence to arrive on my pre-fight predictions based on what the fighters have produced within their life in the ring or outside of the ring in a variable of miscellaneous intangibles such as their trainer, injury history, workout history, discipline, um, words that may come out their mouth to suggest something in opposition to what I'm predicting for a fighter. Those little miscellaneous cues. But let me say this, right? When I come into judging a fight, every round is judged based on that particular round. When I get on here and I make my predictions, I'm not trying to be right. I'm just trying to engage. If I happen to be right, I happen to be right. If I happen to be wrong, I happen to be wrong. I can't control these boxers. I'm not God. Neither are you guys. So I'm not in the game of trying to be right with predictions. That's what the prediction league is for. And Champ Ross has done a great job at giving us that as an opportunity. That's what bookies and betting is for. If you're that excellent at making predictions and calling fights, you should be a millionaire, at least 100,000 there, at least in gambling, because you're such an expert at calling fights in boxing. You shouldn't have any issues. You should be good to go. That is not something that I have a desire to be. I have no desire to be the kingpin of getting all of the boxing predictions right and calling it to the T. I just can't put that energy into what another man may or may not do. Now, with that being said, I'm coming into judging a fight with a clear mind. I'm not coming in with, man, what are they going to say on my channel because I said this. So let me also make that closely aligned with what I said on my channel. See, I think that's a problem that most people have, but I don't have it. When I look on a fight and I look at a fight and I order the pay-per-view, I'm relaxed, I'm chilled, I'm comfortable, and I got my favorite spot and my favorite ritual. Okay, I'm literally not even eating during the fights. I'm just gonna be real with you. I might sit down, I may stand up, but I'm watching the fight closely and thoroughly with the volume up, all the way up, and no one is to disturb me when I'm in my palace watching the fight. It's already understood. That's just the blessings in the position that I put myself in to be able to do that. Now, I understand that there are contributing factors to why you may be distracted. Life happens. It ain't all about boxing. We get it. This is leisure. It is what it is. But I make it my business when I purchase a pay-per-view, because I put money into it, that I get the full experience of the product that I purchased. Now, when I'm watching a fight, each round is separate from the other. Each round has its own individual place within the fight itself. They're independent and separate entities within the entire stretch of the bout, whether it be a 12 rounder, 15 rounder, 10 rounder, 8, 6, or and 4, whatever the case may be, right? So I judge in a vacuum per round. Now, unfortunately, I understand that all rounds are not created equal when it comes to 10-9. Now, we're not talking about the knockout yet. We're talking about 10-9. Okay, I understand that someone could dominate someone thoroughly, not knock them down or not significantly wobble them, but assess and attain a 10 in most of our opinions, right? And that gap can be wide for 5 rounds. Okay, I'm talking about 10-9 is clear, 10-9 for fighter A as opposed to fighter B. Now, fighter B can go ahead and win 10-9s himself or herself as well. And fighter B can win 7 extremely close and subjective 10-9 rounds over fighter A. And what I believe is happening is there's bleed over. And what I mean by bleed over is that these fights are not being judged accurately. I think they're judged somewhat properly because I think most of you guys have a level of competence, like you're competent enough to judge a fight you've been watching boxing. But I think you get a lot of bleed over. I think you get a lot of bleed over from what you predicted and said out of your mouth to people. So you want that to be more right than not. Of course, you don't want to be wrong if that is important to you. You want to seem credible. So there's a lot of personal investment in your prediction and your judgment. Okay? You shouldn't be making predictions then. If making a prediction, okay, is going to force you into compromising your character, you may just want to stay away from making predictions. You may just want to try the rooting for route, because we're going to break this all the way down today. Think about the rooting for route. There's a difference from rooting from somebody, making a objective or subjective opinion, and then accurately coming in and judging the fight without any outside social interferences within yourself. So if you're rooting for somebody, make that clear and make your prediction be known that it's based around that you're hopeful that this was happening or this would happen because I am rooting for a particular fighter. Now, a lot of things can be one and the same as well, too. It is very, very possible and plausible for you to root for somebody and call it right. But I don't think a lot of people are that advanced. It's the same thing with boxing history. A lot of people in the community kind of discard it because they're just not interested in it. They just don't have the time to be interested in it, and they just don't know enough about it. It's an inadequacy. It is a deficiency. So we tend to run from difficult situations or uncomfortable situations, and the lack thereof will cause discomfort for you. So if you don't know your history, you just would tend to stay away from it. That's fair. But if you're rooting for a fighter, it's okay to root for a fighter and say, I am rooting for this fighter. I may not know who will win, but I am expecting this fighter to win because I am rooting for this fighter to win. You know, if you do that, you know how much respect and trouble you will save yourself from having to rewatch a fight 18, 20 times and get yourself in these compromising situations where you got to, denigrate yourself socially on a YouTube platform because somebody will disagree or have a different opinion or a different vantage point than what you have. Just bring the fact of rooting in. I root for fighters all the time. Listen, I told you guys from the offset that Devin Haney would win the fight, split decision, controversial. When they put Harvey Dock in there, I changed my position to Devin Haney, unanimous decision, controversial. On the night of the fight, I was so excited for the fight, and I ordered the pay-per-view, had just came out from hanging with the family. And I got on and I said, man, I'm going with Devin Haney for a late stoppage. Because I was hoping for that. Because I knew at that moment in time that we would be in this situation because a UD or SD decision for either one of the fighters was going to be controversial. And I knew we was going to be on that particular wave with that particular fight. Now, it's not about that fight. That's just an example. We're done with that. That's in the can. And we're going to have the same situation when it comes to Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford. I'm telling you now. If it doesn't end with a clear knockdown or knockdowns or knockout or stoppage, towel, or some of that nature, and this shit go to the cards, whoever been riding with Errol Spence Jr. the entire time, 95% of them are not going to move off their square, even in the face of overwhelming evidence that Terrence Crawford could have plausibly won the fight because they want to be right. And it's the same thing with Terrence Crawford fans. They're going to bleed over. They're going to remember all the things that they said on their channel. They're going to remember all the guys who picked against them and what are they going to say about them and how hard it's going to be in the community for them to show their face. They got to eat their crow. It's going to be tough, or they got to take a week off, of YouTube because certain people are going to give them a tough time. Just distinguish that you're rooting for Errol Spence. Please, for the love of God, just say you're rooting for Errol Spence and you don't know who's going to win. Just say you are rooting for Terrence Crawford and you don't know who's going to win. Just admit that you just start fucking watching boxing Floyd Mayweather. If you do that, guys, I'm not knocking you. I know some of you guys just start watching boxing, and I'm not trying to make this hard as one of the guys that consider himself a historian. I'm not trying to bust your nuts and bust your tits. Just relax, man, and just listen to what I'm saying about judging and assessing. Just say, hey, look, I don't know. I'm on a fence with this one. But what I am going to do is I'm going to give you my opinion on who I'm rooting for. And we'll say, man, that makes perfect sense. We understand that it is your opinion. Now, if you're going to go into the objective realm and try to actually guess the fight because you may bet or you're in a prediction league or you just feel like you have the answer, that's understandable. You can do that. But when you judge the fight, don't have bleed over. Don't worry about what somebody gonna say to you the next day. Don't worry about you looking like a fool on your channel because that's irrelevant. Don't worry about whatever record you think you got with calling the fights right or wrong. Just relax and judge each round in a vacuum. Just do that for yourself. You'll save yourself a lot of trouble. So when round one comes up, round one, when it concludes, that's it for round one. And I suspect a lot of you guys go back and erase your scorecards, and before you get on live, you kind of relook at your scorecard and you kind of erase some things to make it make sense. I know what you guys are doing out there. I know how you guys operate. You got a major channel, you're hot shit, you're doing your thing, you're on top of the world, you in the community. You've been saying that Lomo gonna win this fight, or Tyson Fury gonna win the fight, or Deontay Wilder gonna win the fight, or Pacquiao gonna win the fight. And then when the fight come on, you already come in with a preconceived notion and a preconceived idea that if this fight is close and that there's any opportunity for you to make yourself right, regardless of the outcome, you're going to make yourself right. See, I know your secrets. See, I know how this goes psychologically, socially, and mentally. I know. Y'all don't like when Zone 6 come back because I start exposing inside of your chest. Yes, I 10-man a lot of you niggas. I open up your shit and nothing's there. And I'm sorry, but this is getting out of hand. So let's understand this for the record. I know what you're doing, and I'm telling the community to just blow those guys off and those gals off, and then how to recognize it. So YouTube boxing community, you have people out here that are going and judging fights, and as they write down their score, before they come on live, they will literally erase what they really had, and they will put what they think they need to have on a card to present a bullshit case live in HD on their channel to make themselves right. Now, there's probably about 5% of you that actually come on and say, man, I did have it this way, but this is what I see, and I agree with the decision. I agree with the outcome. Okay? We understand. So when you judge a fight, you got to use the 10-point must system, man. Now, if you want to bring in draws and you say, I kind of had a few rounds that are draw, I got you. That's an outdated practice, and I can relate to that, and I can rock with that. If you had it a draw, I understand that. That is definitely understandable. But you cannot take a round one and make it bleed over into round two, round three, round four, and round five, and say fighter A has won 5 rounds in a row because you like the trajectory and the momentum that is being had. That's not how you judge a fight. That's disingenuous, and that's bullshit. You have to take each round. They got 3 minutes in each round, right? So you got a tiebreaker. Just look at the first minute. See who you think is winning that first minute, second minute, third minute is the tiebreaker. That's a simple way to do it. You ain't got to have no paper. You ain't got to have no pencil. You ain't got to lie. You ain't got to bullshit. It's 3-minute rounds for a reason. And all thing you got to do is look at the first minute. Just take it 1 minute at a time. Okay, I think he got that first minute. Second minute. Man, I think the other guy got that. Okay, this is the tiebreaker. Let's see what happens at the end. Got it. Okay. I got who won that round. 10-9 for fighter A or 10-9 for fighter B. Trying to steal rounds in the last 10 seconds, the last 20 seconds, doesn't make up for the entire rest of the round that has been fought. De La Hoya had a bad habit of trying to pull that shit off. Sometimes it worked. Sometimes it didn't. Okay? Sometimes he got the close controversial win. Sometimes he got the close controversial loss. It happens all the time. So De La Hoya had a habit of trying to steal the back end 15, 20 seconds of a round. Sometimes it worked. Sometimes it didn't. That doesn't mean that the fighter won a round because he tried to steal the last 15 seconds. And I hear these announcers say that shit out loud. Oh, he stole a round in the last 15 seconds. No, he didn't. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that, man. And don't bring preconceived notions and ideologies into judging a fight. I really would like to be face to face with some of you guys on these major fights and really see what your true reactions is to the fight, to get the truth. Because coming on here and rescheduling and see, a lot of you guys write your cards in pencil so you can erase some shit, so you can adjust. Okay, that's how you guys do it. Now, if you're rooting for somebody, that's something totally different. If you say, hey man, I got Spence winning because I'm a Spence fan and I'm rooting for Spence, and I suspect that Spence will stop Crawford or X, Y, and Z, that's respectable. But just confess and admit that you are more so rooting and on the fence than trying to make it an objective, solid opinion that's going to get you in trouble based on the words that you said out of your mouth. Don't write your scorecards in pencil so you can erase some shit before you get on live in HD. Don't do that. That's disingenuous. And then you find yourself having to rewatch a fight 120 times to figure out what's going on and why you're the only person that believes that this person won a fight. That's not how things work. You need to judge each round by the minute, and by the minute. That gives you 3 minutes. And then see what happens. Look at the standards of boxing. Just look at the standards of boxing. Because if this Errol Spence Jr. fight and this Terrence Crawford fight ends in a uneventful draw, uneventful split decision, or UD for either fighter, we're going to find ourselves back in the same situation arguing about nothing. All decisions are final. Straight up. All decisions are final. So if you're going to be rooting for somebody, then you need to make that clear. But if you're stepping down and stomping down and you're going to be putting money on one of these guys and you're going to say, and you're making a declaration that you believe and you know and you're willing to put it on the line that Crawford's going to win, then that's respectable too. But that needs to be understood. The same apply for Errol Spence Jr. That needs to be understood. But just understand what comes with that. That you could possibly be wrong. Not nobody picking on you, not nobody giving you a hard time, but understand the responsibility that comes with trying to make a declaration about either fighter in their position or the plausible or possible outcome within a given fight. So if you're rooting for, that's fine and that's lovely and that's respectable because we need that. We need people who just saying, man, I don't know. I'm rooting for Terrence Crawford. I'm rooting for Errol Spence. I'm rooting for Tyson Fury. I'm rooting for Usyk. But when you make these declarations, you put yourself in a position where you're going to have some issues. And you find yourself writing your scorecards in pencils so that you can safety net by erasing. And then you can backtrack to make it fit your narrative or opinion based on what you've been saying out your mouth prior to the fight. Man, it's okay to get a prediction wrong. That's what the prediction league for. Take your energy to the prediction leagues or take your predictions and your thought process on what an outcome could be to Vegas. You'll get money off of it. You don't have to, stress yourself out over a wrong prediction or a prediction that you didn't see in your favor. You don't have to adjust. Just take each round and judge it per round. Don't use bleed over. Don't bleed over into the next round. Each round is separate. If you try that, you'll find yourself really judging a fight properly, even if you disagree with maybe the outcome, but you know you would have a just outcome. I'm going to ask you guys a couple of questions, right, to get a gauge on this. If you had Andre Ward winning the fight over Kovalev, the first fight, put a 1 in the chat if you care to participate. If you had Canelo beating Austin Trout, put a 1 in the chat. So I'm going to say that again before we get cooking too far. If you believe Kovalev won the first fight over Andre Ward, put a 1 in the chat. If you believe Canelo Alvarez won over Austin Trout, put a 1 in the chat. Obviously, put a 2 if you believe the opposite. So if you think Ward won the first fight, put a 2. If you think Kovalev won, put a 1. If you think Canelo won against Austin Trout, put a 1. If you think Austin Trout won the fight, put a 2. And I say that because one determining factor for me is going to be a knockdown when it's a close fight. So for the record, I had Andre Ward losing the first fight to Kovalev. I had Canelo beating Austin Trout because of the knockdown. I had Kovalev winning because of the knockdown. See, so when you have a situation like that, I'm trying to figure out how do you guys arrive at different scenarios for if you believe Andre Ward won and then you think Canelo won the Austin Trout fight. Sometimes that shit just don't make sense because let's talk about it a little bit deeper. If we believe that Canelo Alvarez won against Austin Trout and the knockdown made the difference, then we have to say Kovalev won the first fight against Andre Ward. I didn't hear people really clamoring for a robbery then. Because I'm going to say something about a knockdown. What happens? I want you guys to think about this in your brain for a second. If you get knocked down in round 1, to overcome that deficit, how many rounds do you got to win, guys? I didn't say tie it. If I knock you down in the first round. Now, George H., I understand what you're trying to say. But we're going to find out in a minute. Because I caught some people on the lie and they had to rechange it. Because math and numbers make sense. I don't know if you know about lines and curves and linear equations, but that's where I am at with math. I'm just being real with you. Math is one of my favorite subjects. So let's talk about a balance of probabilities. If you know about CeeLo or you shoot craps, let's talk about a balance of probabilities. You know, if you shoot dice real quick, everybody know they fuck with the 9-5, they fuck with the 6-8, they fuck with that 7. You know why that's 7? What about that 7 that makes it so unique and distinct? Because there's more way to hit that 7 than some of the other numbers, correct? When you hit that big 10, that big Ben we call it, when you hit that, right, you can hit that with what? A 6-4 and a 5-5. But with that 7, you could get a 5-2, you can get a 6-1, you can get a 3-4. So we start talking about numbers in the balance of probabilities and what's likely and probable to cut down on the bullshit. So exactly. See, Tony Reviews is a up north side Georgia boy, pretty smart. He's in the medical field. He works out, so a lot of blood get to his brain. I'm sure he eats healthy. I'm sure he do a little fasting. He be yakking up about 6 wheels. That's 315 for y'all who don't know. So Tony Review's brain is pretty sharp. He up there where the Blue Moon and all that kind of shit, Northside Hospital. So he's a pretty smart guy. So now, Tony Reviews gave us the answer. Now, George H., no 2 fights are alike, right? So you say. But when I knock you down, regardless of no 2 fights being the same, it takes you 3 rounds to go up on the cards on me when I just won 1 round that had a knockout in it. A knockdown, not a knockout. But I knocked you down once. You have to accumulate 3 10-9 rounds to now be ahead of me. Man, that's a third of a goddamn boxing match right there. So do you see how valuable knockdowns really are? So in the case of Kovalev, for instance, when he knocked Ward down, I'm going to remove that for a second. We know he got to get 3 for Ward to be ahead. So let's give Ward the 3. You telling me the next 8 rounds, For the next 8 rounds, you didn't see Kovalev winning 4 or 5 of the next 8 rounds. We're going to give Ward 3. And we're going to give Kovalev the 1 that he knocked him down in. We're going to play like it's swing rounds, but we're going to just go and get him. Ward came back, and a third of the fight, Ward is winning with 4 rounds in the bag. That leaves us with 8. You telling me that you didn't see Kovalev winning 4 rounds outside of the one that he won already? You only saw him winning what? This is all hypothetical and this is all rhetorical. This is not, you don't have to answer this in the chat. I'm just getting you guys thinking. That's what I'm asking. Think about this shit now. Just think about this. Okay? Now we know knockouts are the ultimate, and that concludes everything, and it's over with. It's over with. So let's look at another one with Manny Pacquiao. And I had a debate on this years ago. Pacquiao Marquez won. And this is why this is important to get this shit right, because this could set off a trend of events that could change history. The conclusion of the Marquez-Pacquiao saga ended with Pacquiao getting knocked the fuck out, therefore kind of tainting the Mayweather fight and also making Marquez a valuable opponent for Pacquiao in the 4th and in the 3rd fight. But we may have not had that if we had got it right the fucking first time. So any one of you guys who may not know history and just started watching boxing with Mayweather, we're going to take you back to early Pacquiao. Now, when Manny Pacquiao fought Marquez, Manny Pacquiao knocked him down 3 times in the first round. Just a little math real quick. If I knock you down 1 time, I got a 10-8. Second time, I got a 10-7, right? The next time, I got a 10-6 round, right? That means you need 9 fucking rounds in the bag in a 12-round fight to overcome all those knockdowns in round 1. Meaning, therefore, we already know it's 10 gone because I just knocked you down 3 times in the first, and we know you need 9 just to overcome all of those knockdowns. Now we at round 10. Now we at round 11 and 12. We got 2 rounds left. You telling me you can see Pacquiao winning 2 goddamn rounds? See, that's how I know people be full of shit. See, men lie, women lie, numbers don't. Now, sometimes you can distort the numbers, and sometimes you can play with the numbers. But the judge confessed, one of the judges confessed that, hey, man, he knocked him down so many times, I left it at a 10-7, when indeed it should have been a 10-6 round. And Marquez would have lost that particular bout with Pacquiao. And then we know Marquez lost the second one. Let's bring us back to the second one. Now, we already talked about Kovalev, and we talked about Canelo. Let's talk about Pacquiao Marquez too. When Pacquiao put him down, he knocked him down 1 time in the fight. He knocked him down 1 time in the fight. Most of us had Pacquiao winning that fight, right? So when we say, George H., when we say that fights are not created the same, you're right. But the score don't change. The facts don't change. The built-in structure don't change. It doesn't matter what you think and interpret a style or your favorite fighter's favorite fighter is, or who they are, what kind of trunks they come in with, who's in their corner, who you like the most on YouTube, what you agree with, what you don't agree with, what you think you know in your head as a response. You cannot erase a knockdown having to be made up by three rounds at some point during the fight, just to make up for the knockdown round. When you get knocked down, man, that's huge. And George H., I can understand if you had Marquez winning the second fight. I understand. I will have to look at your cards and ask you questions to see if you really telling the truth. But I don't see how when Marquez got knocked down. I don't see how they had it to draw the first fight when Marquez got knocked down 3 times. Well, we already understand one of the refs came out and said, not the ref, but one of the judges came out and said, I made a mistake because I did not score it for Pacquiao 10-6. We just kind of tend to, some judges don't go down past 6. If you can, because most of them think that the fight should be stopped by then because it's mathematically damn near impossible for you to goddamn come back and win the fight, bro, other than a knockdown. Now, obviously, they're going to give you leadway when it's at the beginning of the fight, but that's why they stop fights. And I've been hearing you guys talk about these stoppages and stuff. Some of them are egregious, but I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of the stoppages has nothing to do with the fact that, a person's coherent or not. You get knocked down twice and a referee lets you go, and then you get knocked down again in a fight. Come on, man. And some of this shit be happening in the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th round. Just think about that. If you got 2 guys and they fighting and we in the 6th, and it's 3 up, and this is an even fight. Fighter A got 3 rounds, fighter B got 3 rounds. We're in round 7. And you go down twice in 7. Okay, fighter A put fighter B down in 2 times. That means already at the conclusion of round 7, round 8, round 9, round 10, round 11, round 12. You got 5 rounds left. It's damn near mathematically impossible for you to come back. So by the referee letting you continue into round 8 after being knocked down in round 7 twice, the math, that's why they go over there and they talk to these guys. These guys know what they're doing. Believe it or not, most of these refs, bro, and I'm telling you this because this is what I know from being a coach. I've also got into referee schools and stuff to kind of understand, not boxing. I had a homeboy that was doing this shit, but I'm just telling you what I know. Take the referee class to kind of think of this. You guys sometimes want to see shit that just don't make sense. I know we want to see guys unconscious. We know we want to make separation, but I want you guys to just take a minute to think about how you're actually assessing and judging the fights. Where are you coming up with these scores and where are you coming up with these points? Some of you guys are just making shit up as you go. And I don't think that we have a historical problem with the history. We know you guys are not all into Jack Johnson and all into Rocky Marciano and stuff. That's why we bring you guys some of this history. We get it. We know you like the new stuff. But I think some of you guys also have an issue with the mechanics and the structure of boxing. I don't think you guys just got a history problem. I think you guys got a structure of boxing problem as well, too. You guys are deficient. And some of you guys just, no offense, man, some of you guys just don't have the basic math skills and the basic common sense skills to kind of think about what you're saying and what you're assessing. Listen to what I'm telling you. In a scenario in which 2 fighters, fighter A, fighter B, is 6, round 6, and at the conclusion of round 6, you have it even. And in round 7, fighter A puts fighter B down on the canvas twice. And we get into round 8 and he goes down one more time and then the fight stopped. And you say, oh, that's bullshit because I had the first half of the fight even. And then the 7th and 8th, he got put down 3 times between 2 rounds. How the hell he gonna come back in the 9th, 10th, 11th, and the 12th? He needs to repeat 3 knockdowns himself to match his 3 knockdowns. Or if we still even then. He's still even. But if he get knocked down one more time, man, it's just pretty much over with at that point. Mathematically, logically sound, it's over with. That's why these guys be getting hurt. That's why these guys, that's when they say they jumping in to protect these guys, that's really what they mean. Now, if a guy's standing on his feet, that's a whole different story. I can give you that. But when you start looking at the mechanics and the structure of the fight, man, and you see a guy's getting knocked down, even if he get knocked down and it's flash and he get up, You got to start thinking about what the hell that fighter has to do in order to make up for that knockdown in round 1, 2, and then it gets worse and it gets more difficult as the fight goes on and on and on. Even if you say you get a knock, especially if you get knocked down in the odd rounds and you down. So if you down, if it's 5 rounds and you down 3-2, and then in the 6 you get knocked down once, you got to win 7, 8, and 9 to make up that. Now we're back in a good space. Remember, you was already down 1. No, George H. Remember, not all knockdowns are scored 10-8. I don't know why that shit wouldn't be that. Whoever doing that is egregious. Just like the judge in Pacquiao Marquez 1 who said and confessed that they should have dropped it down to 10-6 and Pacquiao would have won. So I don't know what world we living in where all of a sudden you get knocked down and you get the fuck up and then you didn't, it's not 10-9, it's not 10-8. The only way I see the only way I see something like that, if we have a case, Diego Corrales and Castillo, right, where there was an exchange of knockdowns, and I give you an even better one, another one that went the distance that didn't end in a knockout. But here's another one: Ike Quartey, Oscar De La Hoya. Who do you guys believe won that fight? We don't need to make exceptions. I can give him real fights. I don't have to give him. I'm gonna give him real fights all day. I'm giving you a scenario and I'm matching them with real fights. I'm gonna keep the trend going with fights that went to the cards. I know a lot about boxing. I watched a lot of fights, so I can give you a fight for every goddamn scenario. And I'm trying to keep it current. I'm not even gonna go into something in the 50s and the 60s and shit. I'm gonna stay right here in the 2000s. Well, man, y'all should know the damn 90s too, man. Like, come on, that's ridiculous. Y'all should know the 90s. Kovalev, Andre Ward went to the cards. Kovalev scored the knockdown. We already acknowledged that we need 3 rounds to overcome that. Make the rounds make sense. Canelo Alvarez knocked down Austin Trout, close fight, but we already established that you need 3 rounds to overcome that. Pacquiao knocked down Marquez 3 times in the first round. You need 9 rounds to overcome that. How do we get to a fucking draw? Marquez knocked down, Pacquiao knocked down Marquez 3 times in a first fight. Pacquiao knocked down Marquez 1 time in the second fight. And Oscar De La Hoya and Ike Quartey exchanged knockdowns. So, in the case of a round where 2 boxers knock each other down, we had 9-9. So we had 9-9. That's back. Let's just take 2, take a point off the table. You get knocked down, you knock somebody else down. We 9-9. George, there's no complications. It's basic math. It's not you're not saying or speaking on anything complex. Your comments is not complex. Or what I'll do is this. Instead of doing all this is what we'll do. This is what we'll do. We'll find out. We'll get to the bottom of this shit so we can hear your voice live in HD. We'll get to the bottom of this and we'll hear your opinion. Okay, there go the link right there so everybody can get in and they can explain it. So I could go ahead. Be careful when you come over here because I want to ask you your rounds. I'm going to ask you what did you have to fight as. So please come on here prepared. I've given you Kovalev. I've given you Canelo. I've given you both Marquez and Pacquiao 1 and 2. I've given you Ike Quartey. Okay, and these all was fights to the finish, but they had exciting back and forth knockdowns. Just like Earl Spence and Sean Porter, a recent one. Sean Porter got knocked down. That's the difference in a fight. Why do you think Earl Spence won a fight? Why do you think Earl Spence won a fight? Exactly, Yemi, I already covered that. The judge said that already. He said, "Hey man, I didn't want to go 10-6. I just left it at a 10-7." So essentially, Pacquiao just didn't get credit for knocking down Marquez for the third time, which is absolutely ridiculous. And that's how you guys sometimes seem to me when you guys talk about scoring fights. When you guys coming up with your scorecards, I know you're writing it in pencil so you can erase and then come back and justify what the fuck you've been saying on your channel, just to justify what you've been saying on your channel. I understand it's tough. But just say you're rooting for a fighter as opposed to stepping down, that you are being objective and true and balanced and fair and just in your opinion and your assessment. Just save yourself the trouble. Just say, I hate Povetkin. Look, so I make it easy for I hate Povetkin. I'm rooting for his demise every time. I hate that son of a bitch. I hate Kovalev with all my heart. I love nothing more than seeing Canelo stop his bitch ass. I hate Kovalev. But I'm telling you, I believe he beat Andre Ward in the first fight. I hate his guts. Just being real. We got another scenario. Who did you have winning between Castillo and Floyd Mayweather? Now we get into fights because a lot of people like talk. We ain't talking about history. We talking about stylistic fights. I ain't ask you no questions about titles. I ain't ask you about nothing. Mayweather deducted points. So you guys should have answers to this. If I knock you down in the first round, you need 3 fucking rounds to exceed my knockdown round. Now I'm naming fights. I'm going to give them to you again so you guys can look at this shit up. I said Kovalev, Andre Ward 1, Canelo versus Austin Trout, Ike Corte versus Oscar De La Hoya, Pacquiao versus Marquez 1 and 2. Now I'm talking about Castillo and I'm talking about Floyd Mayweather 1, where we have points deducted. And I'm going to introduce a 6th to you because these guys are around the same weight class. I'm staying within the same weight class, right? Outside of Kovalev and Ward, that's the heaviest I'm getting, right? But we're staying within welterweight in that round where I know you guys know what I'm talking about. If you don't know Ike Corte and what happened with De La Hoya and Ike Corte, they was exchanging knockdowns in the fights. An absolute classic. So how are you guys looking and scoring these fights? I give you one more. Trinidad versus Fernando Vargas. Fernando Vargas started mounting a comeback because he had been knocked down a few times in the fucking fight. Opening round. But guess what? He started to accumulate points through knocking Tito Trinidad down in fouls. That's the same thing that happens when you get a point deducted. That's why the refs don't like to do that. Because if you get deducted a point, bro, that's why they don't do it. If you get deducted a point, you need 3 rounds to recover from that foul infraction. This is basic math, man. I'm not asking you guys linear equations, curves, parabolas. I'm not asking you that. I'm not asking you none of that shit. I'm not asking you algebra 2, algebra 1, geometry. I'm not asking you that. This is just basic numbers and basic common sense in the sport that you watch. This is like, what are you guys looking at? So I question, what are you saying? If Kovalev knocked Andre Ward down, he needed 3 more rounds to just supersede that. 2 rounds ain't gonna get it because now we had a draw. You need 3 rounds to say that is the victor. So somebody got to tell me, with all the fights that I've named, how do you feel that Andre Ward won that first fight? This is just basic math, man. I'm not even being funny, but this is why I be leaving, man, because I ain't finna do this shit right here, man. I ain't finna keep arguing about no shit like Lomachenko and shit like that, man. I just want to do some history shit. Now I see why Blood and Boxing Librarian don't engage, man, because this shit crazy right here. And the same thing gonna happen with Earl Spence and Terrence Crawford if you guys don't listen. I already know it's gonna happen again, man. If that shit don't end with somebody getting put on the canvas and there's some separation, man, we're gonna have to hear this shit all again and all over and over again. And if you had Earl Spence, ain't nobody gonna be able to tell you nothing. If you had Terrence Crawford, ain't nobody gonna be able to tell you nothing. So how you guys scoring the fight? I'll drop the link one more time because I want to hear your position. Not worry about mine. I want to hear your position on. We all watch boxing now. We all hardcores now. Now I know y'all saw Kovalev and Ward. That ain't that far out. I know you know who Pacquiao is. That's not far out. Everybody that I'm using is cash cows and people that are dominating boxing that I know you guys should have seen. If you ain't seen, if you have not seen Tito Trinidad and Fernando Vargas, please don't click my link. Don't click my fucking link at all. I'm not talking to you. I'm sorry. Sit back and learn because this shit, I'm not doing this with y'all. This shit make me goddamn, no offense, but it makes me go backwards. I don't mind doing it, but I need answers from you guys. If Marquez got knocked down 3 times in the first fight, we already know the judge confessed that he fucked up. How in the hell can you even see that? How do you feel that that's a draw? Even with the 2 knockdowns, just say you scored it 2 knockdowns. That man needs 6 rounds to overcome just round 1. That put us in round 8 off the top. So that leaves 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. That leaves 5 more rounds. You telling me Pacquiao didn't win 3 to 4 of the, you telling me Pacquiao didn't win 5 rounds in that whole fucking fight? He didn't win 6 rounds in that whole fucking fight with Marquez won? So I'm trying to understand this, man. How you guys scoring these fights? Who's seen these fights that I'm talking about? Confess. If you ain't seen it, man, just say you ain't seen it so we can move the fuck on. Anybody seen what's your thoughts on Tito Trinidad versus Fernando Vargas? That's what I'm asking. How did you have a fight? I don't want to talk about Earl Spence and all them all the time. That shit, I'm tired of that. I want to talk about to see where y'all at. This is the fucking 2090s. Most of you guys are the same age as me. You guys should have seen this shit. Unless, if you say if you ain't seen the fight and say, I just got here with Floyd Mayweather, I don't know. Just say that. So we can move to the next person. So how are you guys assessing this shit? Because I'm telling you how I'm assessing it. And that's how it's going to be. It was an easy call for me with the last weekend fight because I actually look at the fight and pay attention. I don't be jacking off. I don't be goddamn looking at somebody's page while I'm watching the fight. I'm not listening to fucking, no offense, but I'm not listening to fucking Lady Chan call the fight out. I'm looking at the shit at my house. I'm not watching anybody on YouTube describe the fight to me. Motherfucker, I ain't listening to this shit on the radio. This ain't fucking Jack Johnson and goddamn Jack Dempsey era. What the fuck I'm gonna listen to somebody chat it when I can watch it on TV? I don't want to listen to no goddamn fight over the radio, motherfucker. I'm here in the 80s. I was born in the 80s. I wasn't born in the goddamn 1910s. During the Great Depression. I ain't got to reduce myself down to listen to somebody radio me to death about a goddamn fight with their crazy ass descriptions. No offense to people who do that. I'm not doing it. I'm watching the pay-per-view quietly with the volume up. I don't need, listen, Timothy Bradley can't sway me. None of them crazy ass over sensationalized commentators can sway me, man. Absolutely. Tito stopped Vargas. What about the Floyd Mayweather and the Castillo fight where points was deducted? Yeah, like I said, man, I don't know what you guys are looking at. And I'm going to be watching this next shit closely. I'm going to be watching it because I'm going to make sure I find out. So I'm going to figure some shit out because you guys need to learn basic math. You guys need to really look at this and really think about what you're saying when you're watching the fight. You can't bleed over into another round. Each round is distinctly different and unique. Just because, and look, I get it. Just because a guy, 10-9 a guy, and it's dominant, then that is what it is. Let me get Pure on here. He's gonna have the flow. I'm gonna let him cook, and I'm gonna let him talk, and I'm gonna let him speak on everything that he want to speak on. What's
What
up,
up,
Pure?
Zone? What up, Zone? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We can hear you. You in here live in HD. What's going on, man?
Cool,
What's
cool,
your
cool.
thoughts on scoring and how do you score? How do you judge fights? What's your recent opinion on the lightweight fight we just saw between Lomachenko and Devin Haney? How did you score it?
Well, I learned scoring like back in the old days, like listening to Larry Merchant. Was it Larry Merchant? No, no, the Letterman. You know. But recently, I signed up for the WBC referee course just so I know like what the rules are and shit like that. I had Lomachenko winning. It was a very close fight. It could have gone either way. But yeah, I definitely had Lomachenko winning that fight. 7-5. I could have seen. I only rewatched the fight one time. I didn't really like. I wasn't like scoring it with like pen or paper or anything like that. I was just kind of watching the rounds go by or whatever. But yeah, I wanted to touch on Floyd and Mayweather and Castillo. That's a nightmare fight to score, man, because all the point deductions
Mm-hmm.
and like it was a rough fight. To this day, I still have Castillo winning that fight. I think I got him winning by a point, 114, 113. I did a few shit, man. That's one of the fights I've been. I think I might have done like 50 rescores on. I usually get the same score, but it's a nightmare fight to score. How'd you have it?
I had the same actually. That yeah, those points killed Floyd, and Castillo was doing a lot of good work. And I believe because I had Haney 7-5, I
Hmm.
believe that you do have to take it from the champ. Not to say that the champ get to sit back and do nothing, like most people let Floyd do a lot of the times. No, but Devin Haney came to fight, and so did Castillo in that fight, and that was the difference for me. So I had Castillo winning um, over Floyd and won, and I also had my Donna beating Floyd the first fight as well too,
Oh,
and then I
really?
had yeah
Hmm.
I did I
Interesting.
had yeah I had my Donna winning 4 to 5 rounds within the first six. And I mean, because my Donald was on him. My Donald was on him.
He
And then
was.
I had it 3-3 in the second half. I had it 4-2 for my Donald, 4-2, 5-1. And then I had it 3-3. So I had it, Floyd to me, when it got to a certain point, he needed to at least knock him down to me at that point. He needed at least a knockdown. But I had Floyd losing those 2 fights. But I did have Floyd beating De La Hoya, though. I did have him pulling away from De La Hoya. I think I had Floyd in that fight 8-4. 8-4. A tight 8-4, but 8-4.
Yeah, Floyd winning the De La Hoya fight as well. I don't remember shit. I hadn't scored that fight in such a long time, but yeah, something around there. Yeah, most definitely.
Okay. Young Jimmy, what you got, man? What's your thought process on these fights, and how do you score, and what do you think about Lomachenko and Devin Haney? Imperial too, we're gonna get back to you. Do you think how do you see the Earl Spence and Terrence Crawford projected fight turning out? Go ahead, Jimmy.
Yeah, first I want it was before I get to, 'cause I'm really excited for the Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence fight because I've really been wanting. Because I'm pretty sure I know what Crawford's going to do to Spence, and yeah, I've just really been waiting a long time to see it. Like I said, like you said, it's fishing season. He's Aquaman, and it's time to spear. The big fish. I'll be honest, bro. With the Lomachenko and Haney fight, I thought it was a really good fight. I thought it really lived up to not necessarily the hype, but the prestige of the undisputed lightweight championship of the world. You have two legitimate elite fighters. Um, Las Vegas, you had one future Hall of Famer, you had one young rising pound for pound level guy, and Devin Haney. Um, I love the fight. I thought it was really close. I mean, look, after 12 rounds, I personally thought Lomachenko edged the fight, but I have no problem with Haney getting the decision. Maybe a draw, but it's like you said, when you go into the champion's backyard, Las Vegas is now Devin Haney's adopted hometown. He has got all the hardware, and a lot of politics obviously play. He's a younger man by 10 years, so a lot of the promoters want to kind of invest in his future more. So I had no problem with Devin Haney winning because I think Devin Haney did a lot of work that a lot of fans didn't really appreciate. You know, he was hitting Lomachenko with the right hook counters. He was going to the body. He had a good clinch game. And Lomachenko did take his jab away. But you know what? Devin Haney adapted, man. He straight away he started countering with the right hook, the body attack. And these guys were going toe to toe, man. They were exchanging. There were a lot more power shots thrown in this fight than I anticipated. And I love the fight, man. I'd love to see a rematch. I'd love to see Devin Haney move up to 140, take on the winner of what's his name, Tiafimo and Josh Taylor, Lomachenko. At this stage, man, I don't know where he goes. 35 years old. I'm not sure how much gas he's got left in the tank. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Good breakdown, Jimmy. Jimmy said Haney, y'all. So don't think Jimmy just biased. Y'all heard it live in HD. That's a good breakdown. See, so Jimmy can be fair and just. Yeah, don't give him a hard time all the time or assume anything about Jimmy. Buckle up, boxing talk. Man, I'm so happy to have you on here, man. You one of my new favorite channels, man. So what you think about scoring? How do you score the fight? You can tap in on the Lomachenko Haney, and while you're there, go ahead and give us your thoughts on the possible fight between Earl Spence and Terrence Crawford, and then we'll get to you, Piro. Go ahead, buckle up.
No doubt, Zone Six. It's a pleasure to be over here with you too, bro. I'm on. I stay watching all your content. Keep doing what you're doing. And I thought I would take a minute and jump on here. I'm getting ready to go in this meeting. I had like 10 minutes. I'm sitting outside the parking lot waiting to go in here. So I said, let me jump on his channel real quick and say something on that. First of all, I want to say for Lomachenko and Devin Haney, it was it was a it was a good fight. It was, to me, it was a real close fight. I felt like it could have went either way. Zone Six. I feel like, if they would have gave it to Loma, I would have felt all right with it, and by them giving it to Devin, I felt all right with it, because really I put money on Loma. And I was mad that night myself, because I felt like Loma ain't really pressed down in the 12th like I wanted him to. So I'm just being real with how I felt that night. So I'm not mad about Devin Haney getting that win. And as far, I wish they'd get a rematch though. I would like to see a rematch if they could. And
Nice.
and as far as Terrence Crawford and Earl Spence getting this fight now, yeah, I'm very excited about hearing this. And I don't see Spence having no kind of chance of dealing with Bud at all. I just feel like Bud is just too uh too athletic in so many ways. His ring IQ, um, it's just I don't see I it's nothing in Spence that I see where I see him doing it. I see Bud coming in there in the first, people talking about this download, Bud can't download this, Bud can't download that. Zone Six, I see it like this. It's a download for each fighter from Bud. Each fighter, it's a certain amount, of rounds we're gonna download you. That's how Bud feel. And in Spence case, if it's a 3-round download, the download gonna take place, and then after the download take place, you know what it is. So that's all I got to say on this zone.
That is true. That is true. All right, buckle up. Be safe and have a good day, big dog.
No doubt, no doubt. Hey, Zone, I'm gonna try to catch up with you. I'll be watching for you to come on live and try to get on here so I can hang out with you sometime, man. On
Okay,
the
that's
channel.
same
All right,
thing,
bro.
buckle up. All right, Puro, I'm
All
gonna
right.
pass it to
Take
you.
care. Y'all have a
Okay,
good one. All right.
all right, you too. Be safe, buckle. All right, so Puro, go ahead and speak your piece on what you think about the possible fight July the 29th, and I'm gonna bring Method in so he can get his rounds in. Go ahead, Puro, you got the flow.
Yeah. I got Errol by late stoppage or by split decision. I think Bud, he's that dude. He's really good. The only thing is that I'm from the mentality that I can't just assume that you have a certain like resolve in you if I haven't seen it before. Like I've seen it with Errol. I've seen in the what you call it? What's his name? English cat. What's his name?
Kell Brook.
Kell Brook. I seen Kell Brook like have a lot of success early, hurt Errol, and Errol made his adjustments and did what he had to do, and ended up stopping the British cat. I already forgot his name.
Brook.
In the Brook. Thank you. In the Sean Porter fight, I thought Sean Porter fight was fighting beautifully. in that fight. I thought I had him winning until that knockdown. That knockdown to me, um, gave him the edge to win that fight. But still, like he had to dig deep, in that fight. Got the knockdown and was able to eke out that decision. I haven't seen that from Bud yet. I haven't seen him have go through adversity. So I just that's why I lean towards Errol. And also I've noticed that Bud has trouble with fighters that have a nice power jab. So that's why I got Errol in this fight. But I could definitely see Bud winning it though, because he is that dude, like I said.
All right, Method, go ahead and air it out. You got the flow. Speak on it.
What's good, Zone Six? Salute to the Zone Six. Make sure y'all subscribe. Sue Jamie Pirro. For sure. Great topics. As far as Floyd and Castillo, that's probably the most recent that I went back and rewatched. I saw the Tito. I mean, the Tito. I think Tito dropped Vargas early, then Vargas dropped Tito. I thought Vargas had some great work in the mid rounds, but Tito, he's a machine. Came back and got that stoppage that he needed. Um, Floyd again. I thought Floyd was like really effective. Like Castillo couldn't really touch him. Floyd's defense is impregnable, as Mike Tyson would say. So that's kind of why, like rounds, I would get a Floyd. I think both got point deductions. I think Castillo was first, then it was Floyd. And it was like a round, I believe, that Floyd got his deduction. I think Floyd was still effective, and it was like a 9-9 for me. So I could see where the judges were going with it. And I think I scored it like 115, 111, somewhere along what the judges had. For the Floyd, the Devin and Loma fight, kind of the opposite. It was like at points that Devin would throw shots, but they weren't well placed. He wasn't seeing through the shots, making sure the shots landed. Like when he did land the body shots, you could see they were like well placed body shots. Sometimes Loma in the air, good like a hook to the body from the right side, but Loma, in my opinion, is off this offense. It's effective aggression, ring generalship. Like Dev just couldn't stop Loma from doing what he wanted to get his offense off. Dev's defense couldn't stop Loma from landing the shots that he wanted to land. It wasn't Lomachenko's fault. Dev kept dipping all the way down to the ground, putting his head down. I don't really count work when they get the time and clinching up and just getting real rough. It's always about clean punches. I had it like a 7-5, 7-5 Loma. There were no deductions. It was mostly part for kind of clean for the most part. But I could see when fans say like Dev did win. They were counting like shots. Certain shots I didn't see. When I'm going back, it's like, is that a clean body shot? I'm not saying that. It's because I saw how Loma was setting his arms up, and some of the shots that Dev were like drifting below the belt, hitting that waistline or hitting low. So I had to give it to Lomachenko, in my opinion. I don't want to see a rematch. I think Loma he stepped up for that fight. Dev stepped up for that fight. The better man won the judges' eyes. I think it's on to the big fights. You had the Shakur Stevensons, you have the Tank Davises, and you have the 140 division. It's time for those big fights in boxing. I don't think Lomachenko was one of them. I think he could have been, but he lost.
Agreed. Yeah. Okay. All right. Shoot. So the Phantom jumped on. Method. If you done, I'm gonna pass it to Phantom. You good, or you gonna clean it up some more? You got something else?
Go to Phantom.
Okay. No, I'm just checking. Hey, so Phantom. Hey man, it's on you. You just jumped on. Go ahead and do your thing. Hey Piro, we see you got to run. I understand. If you guys jump on, you got like 10 minutes, 5 minutes. Just let me know and I'll prioritize you because I know a lot of you guys are at lunch. I'm cool with that. That's not a problem. Phantom, go ahead, man, and cook and speak your piece on how you score fights, what you thought about the Lomachenko, Devin Haney fight, what you think about Earl Spence and Terrence Crawford. What you got on it?
Well, as far as scoring the fight, I try to be as critical as I can. So for me, it was like 6 swing rounds, I guess you could say, and then like 5 to 6 definitive rounds. 2 to 3 going to Loma, and then definitely 4, 5, and 6 going to Haney. 7, I still kind of think it was a toss up, could have gone either way. But for Loma, 10 and 11, and for Haney, 4, 5, and 6 were definitive. So, if I'm scoring everything else 10-10, well, that's pretty much your 7-5 right there, if you want to look at it that way. So that's just the way I look at it.
Now, what you got on that Spence and Crawford? If they fight, actually, what you think? initial?
That one's 50-50. I mean, Spence is that fundamental workhorse, and you got Crawford, the crafty counterpuncher who could do a lot of damage because he's precise and accurate and got some thump behind that shit. So if Spence can take Crawford's punch, I think Crawford's in for a long night. But if that damage Crawford can do throwing his shots, well, Spence is probably don't go for the full 12 in my opinion.
Okay, man, that's a good breakdown. Jimmy, I'm gonna pass it around. I'm opening it up to y'all to speak on anything. How you judge a fight, why you judge a fight. I tossed some examples out there: the Castillo Mayweather, the Mayweather De La Hoya. How did you have that? Andre Ward and Kovalev one is a big one too. That a lot of people talk about. Ike Corte and Oscar De La Hoya is another controversy. Just to go up and down the timeline of boxing, you could pick anyone that you want to speak on. Just break down how you score the fight and give us a little background about why you do it that way. Go ahead, Jimmy.
See, for me, bro, I just try and keep it as simple as possible. I think boxing is just I try and just my first key thing is quality punching. Who's landing the clean, more effective punches, particularly power punches. That's the first criteria I go to. And if they're similar, who's as far as quality shots landed, and then I go to sort of aggression, who's kind of pushing the fight, who's trying to make it more. Um, so I try and favor that. Maybe that's a personal preference of mine. I favor the aggressor usually, but definitely clean and effective punching is definitely the first. The aggression, yeah, those are pretty much the two things I rely on. Ring generalship, sort of, who's kind of controlling the pace, and of course defense. But with defense, that's probably the least of them for me personally. So for ring generalship, it's just kind of who's controlling the pace of the fight, the flow, the rhythm, uh, and quality. But for me, everything really starts from quality power punches, right? Who's landing the cleaner, more effective shots. So I think that's just the most important thing. And I think if fans sort of go off that, that's the easiest way to really score a fight. Because boxing really comes down just the art of punching, right? And that's pretty much what it is. Who's landing the better quality power punches? Who's doing more damage? And that's what I really rely on. And if it's equal, then kind of who's controlling the pace of the fight. So that's how I pretty much judge fights. With Andre Ward and Kovalev, I mean, I was a really big Andre Ward fan, especially after he beat the shit out of Carl Froch, who's my countryman. But that guy is, man, he is who he is. So I was rooting for Andre Ward. I was actually hyped, especially when he was moving up to light heavyweight to take on this monster in Kovalev, who was being built up as a unstoppable force back then. He had 3 belts. He was a monster puncher. But it's just, at the end of the fight, I have to be honest, even though I was rooting for Ward and I was hoping that, maybe they could eke out a draw, when they said I knew, I was actually pretty shocked though, because I just felt like with Kovalev, he just had done so much more damage in the fight. He dropped Ward, he had he won the battle of the jabs. He was more aggressive throughout the fight. And Ward did a great job of coming back strong, but it just, in my opinion, I don't think it was enough. Maybe a draw if you're very generous, but there's just no way I thought Andre would won that fight. I mean, I was happy as a Ward fan, so I was trolling a lot of these Kovalev. There's a lot of Sergei Kovalev fans who are pieces of fucking shit. Um, so I was happy I was trolling them, but I have to be honest, man, I don't think he won that fight.
Okay, no doubt. Okay, Method, I know you ready. I see you. You next, but Hyplo just jumped in. Let's let him speak on some of the stuff so he can catch up. Hyplo, go ahead and speak your piece, man. Welcome to the show. Appreciate you.
Hey, bro. Thanks for having me on. You can hear me?
Oh yeah, Lima Charlie, man. You loud and clear.
All right, cool. Yeah, I was digging what you were saying earlier. Kind of like the breakdown of scoring and mathematics of it and stuff. But I wanna just digress a bit and talk about origins and why we have scoring. Okay, because fights and the original fights were to the finish. Okay, so the only reason why we have judges is because people got concerned about the brutality and some people died in the ring and stuff. That's why we have rules and judges. It was a more pure battle when it was fights to the finish. And so I tend to prefer boxers who exemplify that type of mentality in today's sport even. So I like a Tank going for the finish. I like a Wilder going for the finish. But, you know, then you get guys who just can't do it, like your Mayweathers and your Haneys most of the time. And, you know, that's why we need judges. Otherwise, we'd have unlimited rounds still, and we'd have a lot more ring deaths. So I just wanted to bring it back around a little bit. The best way to win a fight is round one stoppage. And
Okay.
anytime somebody does that, there ain't no the next day 50 million rewatches to rescore the damn fight. So this is what these fighters should be trying to do. And any fighter that's relying on a 12-round decision is putting his fate in the judge's hands. And who knows who paid off those judges? Who knows who fucking greased the fucking wheels over there? So you're taking a risk when you let it go 12. Go for the fucking knockout. That's my opinion.
Okay, I'm glad you said that. And I see you in here, Smoke. Did you hear what Hyplo just said? Did you hear that history lesson that he give, right? So just keep in mind, we'll wait till Saturday. You say you like fight to the finishes, Hyplo? Just wait till Saturday, man. I got something for you. Go ahead, Method. Go ahead and cook.
All right.
I agree with Atlo entirely as far as looking for guys that are going for the finish. I think you mentioned the Floyd and Oscar fight. That was an odd fight to score in a sense. Again, I think Floyd is always working to be effective, but his volume wasn't very high. Then at times when Oscar he was able to get Floyd on the ropes. Like he may land a good shot, but then he'd start throwing these weird flurries. It was kind of like the JoJo Diaz when he fought Devin a little bit. Right, so he'll throw a weird flurry. Oscar Valdez, when he first scored, he'll throw a weird flurry. They could get you to the ropes, you know, instead of using fundamentals, you know, just you know, kind of like Alberto Ortiz for Kavlovskis. When he fought Kavlovskis, you know, he'll use the angle, he'll go to the side, throw a shot, go to that side, throw the shot. You know, it's the same thing. Oscar seemed a little bit worried to take a step back to when he plays his shots, you know. But the hit for the Floyd fight again is that time is going by. So if you're not working and this guy's just working, I'm happy that nod towards Oscar. Now, I'll have to go back. If I have to go back for like a definite score, but again, I watched. I was like, well, Floyd not really working as much. And when he was working, it'd be in spurts. But yeah, I'd always see how Floyd won the fight. You got to talk about Crawford and Spence. I don't see it going to a decision. I don't really feel I have to. Well, judges will have to really worry that hard about giving non-corrupt scorecards. What's the name? Crawford's going to get about 5 to 8 rounds. Style wise, just stylistically, again, Crawford is just better with his punches, placing shots. Defensively, the smarter fighter. Offensively, the smarter fighter. Better ring generalship. We recently just saw the Kenny Sims Aquadar fight. Aquadar very much similar to Earl. It should have been down fighter. Kenny not so Kenny got some similarities to Crawford, but Bud still was just way more profound as an overall boxer. Orthodox and southpaw. So I can see Bud stopping Earl 5 rounds. I'm not really a Manny Pacquiao fan. I didn't really catch a lot of Manny Pacquiao fights. So that's why I didn't speak with Manny Marquez. I did see like the Marquez Juan Diaz fight. You know, with Diaz, I believe he did drop Marquez, and then Marquez began to, you know, he starts working. He turns to that workhorse and got him up out of there. But again, I'm always looking for knockouts. You putting the fight in the judge's hands is a foolish move. That's when it began at times. You sitting there waiting on the judge to give you something. You gonna always be waiting. You know, you got to go up there and work with your offense to get the job done, stop the guy that's in front of you, or at least make him quit.
Okay. And let me ask you a question, Method. Have you seen Ike Corte and Oscar De La Hoya?
Not yet. That's why when y'all brought it up, I said they give me something to watch today.
Hey, listen. The panel can speak to this one. Listen when I tell you. Look, go watch it today. And tell me what you think. Just watch it. Did you see Marquez and Pac One? Did you see that one?
No. I was just telling Smoke a while back. I said I didn't watch none of the Marquez back. Yeah, I didn't watch none of.
Oh, listen. Do me a favor.
That's what I'm saying. Like you got to be careful with Method agreeing with your takes, there, buddies.
Well, no, it's not. It's not a knock on that. Method has nothing to do with what I'm gonna do to you on Saturday. I just told you you need to pay attention to the key term, fight to the finishes. That's all I'm gonna tell you.
I know. Yeah, because you're over there like in La La Land with a bunch of personal preference nonsense. Like, whatever. It's all good. We'll see. We'll see on Saturday. We'll see.
Yeah,
We'll make it fun on Saturday.
It's not personal preference. It's gonna be facts. It's gonna be what people.
I know.
Actually
The fact is, okay, cool. The fact is, we don't have 2 days to get a fucking winner in boxing matches. That's the fact.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's not bad. But some of those weren't the case. Everybody that had a fight to the finish or scheduled for 45 rounds didn't go 45 rounds. People got stopped.
I mean, I hear you. Listen, if you want to trot that shit out, go ahead.
No,
like, if you want to trot some shit out from 17-15 in 2023, okay.
Listen. What I'm telling you is Hyplo brought up a good historical point. I mean, it's either there or it's not.
I think he's actually kind of. I think he's a little bit off on the point, but I get the details of it. But at the concept, yes. But I disagree with it. Like that's the whole point. Is that you guys are just talking about personal preferences. I mean, this whole like fight to the finish shit. This whole like fight to the finish stuff.
Am I allowed to have a personal preference?
Yes, everyone is.
Okay.
But he said facts. He said facts, not personal preference.
Hold on. Let's open it up then. Y'all can do it. We can let's make sure Jimmy, Method, and Phantom cool, and we'll clear some space, and you can go ahead and express yourself, Smoke. So Jimmy, you got anything real quick, or just want to make sure so y'all can have a flow? Go ahead, Jimmy. You got anything, or you want to listen to Smoke and Hyplo speak their piece?
No, I really want to listen to Smoke and Hyplo. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, so
knowledgeable guys.
All right, Phantom, what you got? Because once I let them go, we're gonna let them have it. Phantom, what you got? You agree, disagree, or what you thinking?
Well, yeah, like Smoke said, Haplo's missing some details, but I'm sure Smoke will elaborate. So go ahead.
Okay, that's a good one. All right, cool. I'm step back. Go ahead.
Give like a dissertation. I just gave you some basic things. It wasn't like a full-on breakdown of the entire history of how fights evolved to what they are right now. And I know, the 10-point must system was in place, put in place to avoid draws, but that's also not the whole story. You didn't need the 10-point must system in the beginning of boxing. There were no fucking rules, and the fight just went until one guy couldn't fight no more. So that's what I was talking about, and I don't really see any reason why we need to nitpick and go into like proving the exception that proves the rule and all that shit. I was just making a simple point that a stoppage is a definitive result, and that's what I like the most, because there's no the next day fucking bitching and complaining about judges and who got a decision.
Oh, really? So people are not people are not still bitching about Meldrick Taylor versus Julio Chavez. All right, fucking.
No,
I walked the earth like a guy.
People still bitch about fights that have stoppages, but it's more definitive, and mostly what I'm just talking about is a real KO. That was a particular situation where you had a guy who was ahead, and he got stopped, and I agree with that stoppage.
I mean, we really just the worst stop. Like, people are wringing their hands about fucking Haney and goddamn Loma, but just a week before that, we had goddamn Rowley and that old ass man. That was a stoppage. Everyone's pissed by. They were screaming robbery at that point. Like,
oh, good point. Concede that. But that's the exception.
You can go back this month. Like, I'm just saying, like, all this shit is like, so here's the thing.
The rule that I'm saying is like when someone gets knocked out, there's no complaints the next day. I'm not talking about like controversial stoppages necessarily. I agree you're right, that does happen, but more often than not, if there's a stoppage, at least you have a definitive result there.
I mean, I do like definitive things, right? But you can have definitive 12 rounds. Like, it just, definitive doesn't need to be a stoppage or not a stoppage. It just, we need to get the shit right. Like, we're all, but I think really the problem is there's, because boxing is so subjective and we don't have 50 fucking years for two guys to figure out who really want to fucking fight. There's all kinds of opinions from people who are just watching fights for like the first few fights versus people who've been watching fights for decades, and those opinions are going to vary widely about what should happen, right, or who should have won a fight. And I think throwing all of those that huge range of opinions and experience levels is the thing that's happening, like that amongst the fans. But then there's another thing that's happening, that the fans, because they've been watching for so long, they feel like they know as much as, if not more, than the judges. So when the judges come back with something that's different than what the fans say, they start talking about corruption, incompetence and corruption, but they never look in the mirror to see that maybe the incompetence is on their end.
Well, I think that was sort of the point of Zone's whole, video here, that, judging is subjective, and I think it's subjective for a reason, honestly. I think the whole sport of boxing is designed for the entertainment of fans. If you look at the way the rules have evolved over time, and they took wrestling out of it, throws and things like that most people don't even realize that at one point in boxing you could kick someone in the fucking nuts. So but crowds didn't like that. They wanted to see a fair fight, so that's how the Brockton rules came about and all that, and then so on, London Prize, Marquess of Queensberry, etc., etc. But I think the rules are the way they are in a way so to discourage guys from letting it go to the cards, because hey, you let it go to the cards, man, anything can happen. You don't know what the judges are seeing and not seeing, and the best way to avoid that, in my opinion, is go for the fucking knockout. And that's just my opinion, man.
Like, what's funny to me, like, in 2023, right, we're starting to see more the legitimizing of women's boxing. And part of that legitimacy is hinging around whether they have 2 or 3 rounds. I mean, 2 or 3 minute rounds. And whether or not they should go to 10 or 12. If all we want to see is fucking knockouts, just make the men fight for 2 minutes. You get all kinds of action and all kinds of fucking knockouts.
Well, I mean, I don't know if I agree with that. I think 2 minutes makes knockouts harder to get, honestly. But hey, I mean, we don't know that because we don't see that.
I mean, if you only have 2 minutes to do your work, those ladies are shot out of a cannon and just throw a ton of fucking shots. And if you're hitting harder, then
yeah. But the point you made about women's boxing kind of negates what you're saying, because you get a lot less knockouts with those 2 minute rounds. But it is women, so I mean, hard to say. Yeah,
they get fewer knockouts, not because of the 2 minute rounds. I'm saying that there's way more action in those 2 minutes. And if you had men who are hitting harder, then those action, that increased action, that truncated amount of time shouldn't. I mean, if they have to truncate the action, right, then it should be more knockouts. Right?
I don't think the women's boxing and amateur boxing bears out your point there.
Amateur boxing?
Yeah, well,
amateur boxing is fewer rounds, not fewer minutes in the round.
Don't they have 2 minute rounds in amateur sometimes?
I thought they're 3 minute rounds for 4 minutes or something. But those are also like little kids and wearing hair gears, bigger gloves.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, the amount of time in a round, honestly, look, what the point I was
making okay, so here's the thing. Do you think that there's more?
On the unlimited days, there was no time limit on a round. So
right. So do you think there's
fewer until someone got knocked down?
Right, but I mean, and we're gonna get, and I guess Zone is he can clear up his notes, right, for all this stuff. guys had totally different rules. Like you had way more recovery time. It wasn't no like 8 seconds or nothing. Like you had a ton of time to recover in between. Like it's like the idea that we are going to have that much. We're gonna take that much time out of our lives in order to like.
There's actually less recovery time if you think about it, because now you get a minute in between rounds no matter what. Back then, you got knocked down, you got 30 seconds to start fighting again.
Yeah, right. I mean, I got you. But they also had different gloves, and so like throwing a punch was a fucking no gloves. Like all kinds of shit. Like that's what I'm saying. Depending on where you're talking about. Depending on which era.
So my thing is this: like, there's a lot of description about the conversation as opposed to addressing the points. The conversation was on time, okay, and now we're getting down to breaking down time. Now we went to gloves. We're not talking about gloves and equipment. We're not talking about equipment and amateur headgear and 16-ounce gloves. We're talking about time and what takes place within that time, Smoke. Okay, so
but when you start talking about time when it's affected by the gloves and the thing, then I mean, like when I was talking about time, it was in relationship to knockouts. Now, if you want to talk about the unlimited time, then I don't think you got more knockouts back then. That's my point. I think you were getting more knockouts in this 12-round era with 3 minutes.
Well, what I'm saying,
I gotta disagree there.
Then you got back then, because back then you got a whole bunch of fucking draws.
It's a spectrum. It's a spectrum, though. You know what I'm saying? And you're not going to be able to pin that aspect down, because you'll have to literally
be possible,
right? Because
if it's a fight to the finish, someone's either quitting or getting knocked out. Like so every fight in that era ended with this.
Unless nobody quit and everybody just gave up because the fucking thing took too long. What do you think newspaper decisions were about?
A newspaper decision is a whole different story, though.
No, that is the story of nobody getting knocked out.
No, that's the story of when they tried to make rules that in order for boxing to be more safe, and they thought, okay, well, if we have a no decision rule, they're going to try for the knockout, and if they don't get the knockout, it doesn't count.
Right, that's the whole point. A newspaper decision is when you don't get a knockout.
Yeah, but the whole, like, they didn't design that era for.
I didn't say that they did design the era like that. I'm just talking about the idea of like the amount of knockouts.
Right,
I'm only talking about knockouts.
I'll land my plane real fast.
Go ahead.
In the newspaper decision era, it became a newspaper decision era. That wasn't the rule. Like, oh, all of a sudden now we're going to let the newspapers decide.
That's not what we're speaking to, though.
It was because,
bro, you're going off on another
tangent.
Just a second.
Just a second, then you can go. The reason why you have newspaper decisions is because in that era they outlawed decisions, and there was no official decision. So you had newspaper writers saying who they thought won the fight, and then
correct, because it wasn't knockdowns, bro. I didn't ask. We're not talking about the whys and the hows of it. It's just the fact that it is.
We're talking about the fact
that literally about the number of knockouts.
Why did you even bring up newspaper decisions, though?
What did you say?
Why even bring that up?
Because we're talking about the timeline and the amount of knockouts you get because of time.
Well, what I initially said was fights to the finish.
Can I address that? Can I address? I just want to address Smoke's point quickly. I think there's two main reasons why that's the case in women's boxing. The first reason being, and I'm not, this might sound controversial, but I think probably 90% of women actually can't box. They don't have the skills of men. I mean, we saw the fight with Lomachenko and Devin Haney. Look how much high-level skill and ability that was shown between the two.
It's not necessarily skill. It's power.
No, I got another point as well, though. So I don't think they've got the skills. So defensively, they're not sound. And also, there's the pressure. A lot of these women, they've got an incredible amount of pressure to perform because they want to make more money. They don't want to get paid $20,000 to headline a big card. I mean, that's embarrassing. They want to be making the multi-million-dollar paydays and contracts of men. That's why a lot of these women are under a lot more pressure by the promoters and the networks to, when they do get a shot on an Anthony Joshua undercard or a Canelo undercard, that they have a lot of pressure on them to perform and to perform big, because obviously they want to make money, they want to keep fighting on TV, and they want to draw in more fans. It's kind of like a growing sport. And also, most women don't really have a lot of skill. I know that's controversial. Me personally, I I just don't think women can box.
Yeah, I think there's some bullshit in there, but I think for the most part you're on point. I mean, $20,000 for a women's fight is some good money. They'll get in there and scrap it up. Like they're not divas like some of these niggas out here are. Not at all.
That's a good point. Yeah, they will scrap it out.
That is a hell of a point.
yeah, you're right. They will scrap it out. I have to agree with that. But yeah,
anyway, my point simply, just in conclusion, just to tie it up nicely with the bow, for me, I prefer a boxer who has skill but can get the finish, because I don't like hearing for fucking 6 weeks about how 5 different people scored a fight, and like basically if it goes to decision, like I've heard fights that were wide, like people say that Tio versus Loma fight, remember that one?
Right.
Like I saw that as a clear, definitive decision for Tiafimo.
But
I thought he won at 10-2, but you got people out here saying that was a draw. So like, don't let it go to the cards. Get the fucking knockout. That's
right. So we get your point, Hyplo. I just don't understand what the fuck he was saying. I'm really still kind of lost, because he kind of just. I'm trying to see what was his definitive claim. Like I know you might have been responding. Yeah, what were you saying, Alton? Because I know, Hyplo, what you were saying. I heard what Jimmy and the Phantom were saying. But Smoke, you just describe a lot of shit. I don't know what you're talking about, to be honest with you. What were you talking about?
Right. So I came in on the idea, a couple of ideas, right? Firstly, that knockouts inherently are definitive. No, they're not. We get all kinds of controversial stoppages, just like we get controversial like split decisions. That was the first part of it. The other part of it was that the other part of it is that we can somehow jigger our 2023 our sensibilities now to like what the fuck was going on in 1892.
Yeah, but I don't think anybody's doing that. But
I mean, that's what the whole conversation was about. It was about we got more knockouts back then and all.
Yeah, you're talking about Hyplo again. I'm asking you something now. We're talking about knockouts.
Well, that's what I was talking about. That's why.
What I'm asking you, for the words that came out of your mouth, is describe what you're considering as to be a knockout from your vantage point. What is a knockout to you?
Oh, I mean, a knockout to me is firstly what the boxing community has come up with, has described as a knockout, when the ref either waves it off or counts you out, right? That's like what we're all working with. But for me, it's definitive when the guy is fucking unconscious, right? He's unconscious, can't beat the fucking count, or maybe does beat the count on wobbly legs or whatever the fuck, but basically unable to continue.
Right, and they got specific descriptions for each one of those. You got a KO, which is a knockout, you're getting counted out. They got a TKO, they got an RTD, and then they got the towel. There's a different methods of being stopped. So I'm trying to figure out, when you say it's not necessarily definitive, when you get knocked the fuck out and separated from your consciousness, are you saying that is that one that you would describe as not definitive?
Of course not. You literally just went through all of these things. You said throw in the towel. The throw in the towel could be definitive, but maybe the fucking people don't think that, Sean Porter, that should have been a stoppage, right? They felt like that dude could continue. So is that a definitive knockout?
Yeah, I mean, it would be definitive, because everybody understands the rules of boxing, and they understand when the towel comes. Definitive. It's not just smoke. This is not your fucking world. So what happens?
Bro, you just asked me my opinion. I got you. You literally just asked me about my opinion about what the stoppage is, but then you tell it's not my world. I'm talking about, like, if you want to toggle between my world and the real world, then we can do that. But you asked me my opinion. You asked me about what my opinion was about definitive.
Hold on, Smoke. So now we're reducing you down to opinions. But you got on here and said,
you asked me, bro.
Dude, listen to what I'm telling you. Your opinion is wrong. Throwing in throwing in the towel is a definitive fucking gesture. What are you talking about? It is your corner.
The gesture is definitive. The gesture is definitive. It's not definitive whether or not the fighter can continue. Like I
I'm gonna
said,
let you.
it's definitive for me if the
This
fighter
what we
can't
do.
continue. That's what I said.
I'm gonna let you finish.
Maybe.
I'm gonna let you finish.
Okay,
I'm
go
gonna
ahead.
let you finish. And when I start talking, I don't want to hear your shit coming out of your mouth. Go ahead. You go. Go ahead. Got it. You go. Go ahead.
Cool. You asked me what did I think of knockout order. I said it's definitive when the fighter can't continue. When Sean Porter threw the towel in, the towel coming in was a definitive gesture. But could Sean Porter still continue? So for me, when you ask me about my thing, no, Sean Porter was not a definitive knockout. Go ahead.
Okay, so what I'm telling you is you tend to come on and start talking about the description of people's fucking opinion. So now you're lending us your opinion. We don't give a fuck about your opinion. We're talking about
You asked me.
I'm
out. I'm out. Then don't, if you don't care, then don't ask me. I'm out. You don't care about my opinion, I'm out.
Didn't I just let you finish? Did I just let you finish? Do you got more? Okay, I did. He ran off. When somebody throws in a fucking towel, that is your coach making a definitive decision on your behalf, whether you like it or not. Do a fighter likes to get knocked the fuck out? Of course he doesn't, but it's definitive whether he likes it or fucking not. That's the point blank period. That's why he left. Go ahead, Phil. Welcome to the show.
What's up, man?
Did he just throw in the
What's
towel?
up?
Damn.
So what I think what I think Smoke was saying was this right here, right? What I took from it. I took from it that he's saying that anyway, what he took from it was what I took from what Smoke was saying is that obviously the outcome is definitive because you can't argue the title. But you could potentially argue whether the fighter himself could carry on because obviously somebody's making a decision that he can't fight anymore. So, prime example, it's been guys such as like, okay, we use Deontay Wilder, right? His trainer threw in the towel, but Wilder said he can continue, right? So Wilder said, I wish he wouldn't have threw in the towel. So in that instance, I think that's what Smoke is talking about. Whether obviously the fight is a stoppage because the towel was thrown on, that's definitive. But Wilder saying that I can still fight is not definitive. That's what I think. That's what I think he's trying to say.
Yeah.
But regardless.
Hey, all right, yeah.
What?
Just finish, Phil, because I want to address real quick. Just I
want to go after Phil.
I see the king in here, and you got a guy here right now that just did a first round knockout, and that shit was definitive. There was no arguing about judges when that fucking happened.
Yeah, go ahead, Phil.
So what I'm saying is like, I mean, this is the deal. I mean, at the end of the day, the stoppages in totality, whether you think a fighter can continue or not, if you get the towel thrown in, it shouldn't be any controversy about that, right? Because the act itself in winning the fight is definitive. You see what I'm saying?
Right, so
a motherfucker can always say, "Hey, let me go out on my shield," but obviously you trust this person to make that decision, right?
Exactly.
And you know, most people gonna say, "I could have went on." I mean, because we're competitors, right?
Right.
Then obviously if you don't beat the 10 count, it ain't no. I don't even know why that's even up for discussion. Or if you do get up and you kind of on shaky legs and you can barely keep your balance, and the referee say, "Look, man, you need to sit your ass down. You finna get killed in here." Yeah, I think that's also another one. That's just as good as you not beating the count. But I mean, it's a lot of levels to this shit right here, right? And like you said, you got a description for each one of them. And my thing is, don't let it go to the cards, man. If you don't let it go to the cards, you don't got to worry about it. I don't give a damn if a motherfucker sprang his kneecap when I get the dub, but it is what it is, you know? So, look, I don't even know why this particular conversation is continuing to carry on, because if you just go in there and you let your nuts hang.
All right, let Buck Charles go ahead. Buck Charles, we're going to continue. Let Buck Charles just continue. Yeah, I know you'll be next. Hey, look, it's only 4 of us here, man. Buck Charles ain't, he needed to cook.
Sorry,
because he might want to cook on.
I just want to say, like, for example, what we just witnessed from the brother just saying, I'm out, I'm tapping out, I'm done, and leaving the conversation is what you call throwing in the towel. And it is another.
Buck Charles, you chopping up. Buck Charles, you chopping up, man. We can't. We just heard you saying smoke thrown in the towel, and that's all we got.
Yeah,
Well,
you might want to let him get his shit together. Let Hype Low cook.
you gotta let Hyplo go because we can't hear you. Go ahead, Hyplo. You got it until he.
I don't want to step on Boxologist's toes, but you're breaking up, brother. You may want to pop out and pop back in.
Yeah, man. We know you got that Boost Mobile internet.
Yeah, I'm hop out, hop back on.
Oh, there you go. You sound clear now.
I'm clear. I'm clear.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, you good.
Oh, so all I was just real quick. So I was just saying the definitive TKO stoppage is what we just saying with Get the Smoke thrown in the towel on the conversation. He could no longer continue the conversation, so he bowed out gracefully. You know what I'm saying, or his own mental training decided for him to bow out gracefully, and that's what you call a conversational debate stoppage. Because a man he can no continue and he hopped off the line. You know what I'm saying? We seen it in like Hypo just said, in my debate, you know what I'm saying? But when these stoppages, man, like at the end of the day, if we gonna just get down to the real, bro, a true stoppage is when the person can no longer continue, bro. At the end of the day, like it is not in his best interest to continue this fight because he's gonna risk getting himself hurt on a more permanent or extended period basis. You know what I'm saying? So whether that's you've been separated from your consciousness, whether that your medulla oblongata is all you know what I'm saying, constructed and you can't, you know what I'm saying, get your legs to do what your brain wants your legs to do, So or if your trainer is realizing, hey, I trained this man, I know what he has, I know what he doesn't have. This fight needs to stop now, or it's just going to be a career-ending situation. And I think even with the Porter thing, I think his father knew that more so anything, because if you think about it, after that fight, what Porter do? Retire. So, it's definitive based on what you're looking at, man. But when you can't continue and you can't physically continue, or your corner feel you physically, your corner is you. You put these people in your corner to do things that you can't see. You know what I'm saying? To make moves and speak for you when you can't speak for yourself. So if your corner feels you can't continue, you can't continue, bro. At the end of the day, it's just like a fucking TKO, KO, RTD. It's the same shit. You can't continue. Any way you cut it. Only time it's controversial is if, like, I seen a fight where a guy, the guy was throwing punches on the dude. It was a smaller weight class fight, and the dude he was on the ropes, and the guy was throwing a flurry of punches, and at the angle, on the camera angle, he was actually slipping all the punches. He was literally slipping all the punches, and from the ref side, it just looked like he was just getting swarmed. You know what I'm saying? From the ref's angle,
where he was standing.
From where he was standing. So that's the only time something is can be controversial, but you gotta fight back. You know what I'm saying? So
talking about like the Rolly fight this past weekend, last weekend.
I know I'm not talking. I'm talking about a different. It's a different fight I'm actually speaking of. You know what I'm saying? That was some.
Rolly, sorry.
No. That was some bullshit too.
Yeah. I'm thinking you talking about Rolly.
That was some bullshit too, because Rolly wasn't hitting him with anything clean. And when the stoppage came in, it wasn't because of a significant punch that was thrown on that man. You know what I'm saying? That made him stop, wobbly, nothing. He was just, I think just Rolly was just having a good moment, but he wasn't having a type of moment that where this guy's ready to go. I don't think that. You know what I'm saying? I actually had Rolly losing that fight up until that point.
There were consequences to that, because Tony Weeks was supposed to ref this Loma versus Haney fight, and he got fucking booted, bro, for fucking up. I'm not saying.
Yeah, and I think he should have gave.
It can be a fucking controversial stoppage, but 9 times.
Yeah, it can. Yeah.
9 times out of 10, a stoppage that I was talking about knockouts, bro. I don't know why Smoke had to come in and try to nuance it, but I get what he was trying to do. But honestly, the point I was making originally was, I'd rather see a fucking Wilder versus fucking Hellenius than, we know there was no one arguing the next day. Actually, there were some idiots on here saying that was a fake knockout, but but those are the fucking fringe morons. When you get a first round, second round knockout like that, man, like done and dusted, we can move on and like let's see what happens in the next fight.
Yeah, so
Man, me personally,
you posed a good question earlier. You got it, but I want to make sure y'all catch this one too. He was posing, and I'm gonna let Hyplo say it. You were saying that you believe that there may have been more knockouts and stoppages back then in the olden days compared to today. Is that true, Hyplo?
The olden days that I'm referring to is when fights were to the finish. So, case in point, there had to be more stoppages because the fights would still be going on right now. Like you had to fucking win by some kind of stoppage when it was a fight to the finish. Am I wrong?
No, that makes sense. I was just seeing if you wanted to elaborate on that point while boxologists in field here, because they probably didn't get that part. But that's
I got that part because back in the day, I mean, it wasn't no decisions. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I mean, you got your ass whipped and you quit, or you got your ass whipped and you couldn't continue. I mean, that was it.
That was it.
Yeah, that's the only options you had.
I'm not saying there was never any controversy back then. I'm just saying, yeah, you definitely had more knockouts because that was the only fucking way to win.
And really, it was set up back then, you know, for you to more so get a knockout than, you know, it going to a no decision or a draw or something of that nature, or no contest or whatever. Because when you look at it, first, it was unlimited amount of rounds, and then, you know, smaller gloves, and then the gloves still was smaller back then in the 60s and everything than today, and the rounds was a lot longer. You know what I mean? Like I don't think Ali got dropped until like the 14th round when he fought Frazier. I don't think Hearns got stopped by Leonard until like the 14th round when he fought Leonard.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, you know,
two great fights.
By having extended rounds, it's more susceptible, you know what I'm saying, to get a knockout or not. And I think if they didn't, the rounds didn't go as long as they did back in the day, it wouldn't be as many knockouts on people's resumes than it is today. Or knockdowns, you know. But yeah, that's my spill.
Yeah, I feel like they never should have gone to 12, man. I think why would they go to an even number of rounds? They should have just gone to, if they were going to reduce it, go to 13. But
yeah, I see 13. I don't know why not. I think 15 was fine with it. I think what they should do is this. I think if you're going to do 12, you need to bring back the draw round, or if you want to take the draw out, then you gotta take it to 15 if you're not gonna have draws, because now we get a situation where we got, you know, a odd number of rounds, and 15 is pretty good. You know what I'm saying? 7 and 8.
Yeah, I don't know why they skipped over 13 and went to 12.
I don't even know why they skipped over 13 either. That's some history that we need to probably look up and figure out why not even 13, because 13 would be right on time, to be honest with you. 13 would be right on time, and I don't know what the issue is. Why not?
It's a good fucking question.
Yeah, that's a good one.
But yeah, man, I mean, look, you could argue all day and get into the nuance, this and that. The simple point I was trying to make is, if there's a stoppage, look, fighters that plan to get a decision, like you're planning to get fucked over at some point in your career. Try to get the fucking knockout. That should be the mentality of going in the ring. It's a fight. You want to like win, right? Knock the guy out, or do you want to dance around and look pretty for 12 rounds? Like, I mean, I don't feel sorry for any fighter that gets a fucking shitty decision. You should have gone for the knockout.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I agree. So let me ask the table, man, since you guys are here. First thoughts, however you want to describe it or take it. Earl Spence versus Terrence Crawford, July the 29th for a projected fight. What y'all fellas got on that?
Man, I'm waiting to see something on BoxRec, bro. I ain't even gonna cap. I fully believe it when I see it on BoxRec. I don't believe the fight is still happening yet, bro. You know, but if it does, I got Crawford based on the Spence injuries.
Okay, okay. I've been saying that ESPN they scrolling across the screen. I know we look at boxing records well too, but they scrolling across. Now, of course, both of these guys can pull out, no matter how assured we are that the fight might happen or a contract. Anybody can always pull out. Your boy Andrade do it all the time. But what I'm saying is, based on the projected fight, is less than 8 weeks away. ESPN talking about it. They putting it all over the news. You got Crawford winning based on the Earl Spence car injuries.
Yeah, that's my pick now. Before the injuries, I had Spence edging him out, but after the injury, especially after the second one really just did it for me. I'm like, yeah, I don't trust this guy. Fuck around, get into a car accident. She on the way to the fight. You know what I'm saying? So, shit, I definitely got Crawford now, bro. I ain't gonna cap.
Okay,
Yo,
all right.
I seen Phil. Did you want to go, or is it my turn?
It's
You already talking, man. You already talking. Go ahead.
All right. I seen many fights get scheduled on BoxRec that end up getting canceled. I mean, it can be set in stone. They can write it on a stone tablet and fucking present it to the world like fucking Moses. I still wouldn't believe it because these two guys have fucking pulled the rug out from under the boxing public so many fucking times with the April Fools and this and that. Like, is that really what boxing's supposed to be about, man? I mean, April fucking Fools? Are you kidding? Like, I feel like this is July Follies, bro. And how is fat ass Spence gonna get ready for a fucking fight in 2 months when he already told us how bad he struggles to lose weight in camp and how that's been a hindrance to him? He said no fight I ever been in was all that tough. It's the training camps trying to reduce down from 185 pounds and all the fucking drinking and all that shit. So look, I'll believe it when I see it. I feel like, that was the general gist of what Boxingologist was going to say, but I feel even more strongly about it because, these guys have been fucking around way too long as if they're like Mayweather and Pacquiao, and they're not, bro. Mayweather and Pacquiao, as much fuckery as went into that fight, like they were legitimate worldwide stars. These guys, like, if I bought that fucking Crawford t-shirt with the shark and him looking like Aquaman, like, and walked around the street with that, people would be going like, what the fuck? Who is that? Okay.
I got
okay, just a second. I'll land the plane. If the fight happens, just like always, I got fucking Crawford knockout around 10 rounds. I think he's gonna figure him out. He's better. He's got more ways to win. Spence fights one way. He fights one way really well. He's great at it. But when you're up against a guy who can switch gears, who can switch styles, switch stances, he can punch, he can box, he's good in every single position in there, accurate. He can change the trajectory of his punches midstream. He goes upstairs, downstairs, whatever you want, man. He's going to fucking find a hole and he's going to find that button. He's going to push it and he's going to get the KO. Fuck Spence. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to, because my feelings have been very clear since the beginning. A lot of people
I
blame
thought
both
Phil was
men.
next.
Okay, go.
Yo,
Go
Phil,
ahead, Jimmy. You already been cooking. Go ahead, Jimmy. Go ahead. Go
Okay.
ahead. I'm gonna
All
let
right,
everybody
go
get
ahead,
this
Jim.
done.
All right, cool. Sorry, I didn't know what order it was going back and forth in. I thought it was the original.
Yeah, go ahead. No, it's open. Go ahead. I ain't gonna say nothing. I'm letting y'all cook. It's for y'all. Y'all can cook. Go ahead.
Okay. Look, bro, I have to be honest, bro. I mean, I know a lot of people blame both men. I don't blame both men. I think 100% of the bullshit is on Errol Spence. This guy's a drunk, a sodomite, a liar, and a straight up bitch, to be honest, when it comes to Terence Crawford. We've seen Crawford do everything under the sun to get the fight, get a belt, cross the street, corner this dude in hallways, call him on Twitter, agree to play B-side. I don't know why the Errol Spence fans play blind to all of this. I mean, it's all publicly documented. I'm just happy he's got the fight. Do I trust Errol Spence? I mean, bro, this guy's a drunk, and he can't, hold his liquor down when he's driving. So, I mean, how do I know 10 days out of the fight that this guy doesn't get into another car crash? How do I know him and Yellow Beezy don't get into an argument? And he has one drink too many behind the wheel, and then we got to wait another 6 months. Will he make weight? I don't think so. He's walking around looking like Homer Simpson. I mean, I just have to be honest, man. I just don't, I don't trust this dude, man. This guy's he's spooky, bro. He's spooky. I saw Crawford corner him in the hallway and say, wait, bro. I just come on, man. Like, we know what it is, bro. When they came face to face, bro, we saw who the alpha male was. Spence had his hoodie up. He was looking for the exit. Crawford made it, bro. He made Errol Spence pull his phone out and save his number. And Spence started stuttering. He's like, yo, you told me to get a belt. I've got a belt. When are we going to rumble? And yet Spence saying he was stuttering, talking about the easy route. Al Heyman wants him to fight Mikey. Sean Porter has a belt. I want the easy route. I mean, bro, what happened to your Ferrari when you went the easy route? I mean, bro, it is what it is, bro. I don't trust Errol Spence. And I will never trust an alcoholic and a sodomite. That's just the way I am. And it's nothing to Spence personally, but, I
But
just believe
Jimmy, you are a sodomite. What are you talking about?
stop projecting your fantasies on me, Phantom. This is the 9th time I've told you, bro. I don't think
Hey,
that
I
way.
was content with
Stop
listening, but
sending
once
me
you start
emails, bro.
coming up here spewing your small island bullshit, I gotta call you out on it,
Bisexual. Oh,
bro.
here we go.
I
Here we
mean,
go.
hey,
Yellow
hey,
Beezy again.
Phantom,
Another
Hey,
Yellow Beezy again,
Spence
bro.
did look kind
Get
of
those
zesty
pom
though
poms out,
with
bro.
Yellow Beezy.
Get those pom poms out.
And I'm for a
I'm
second
just
real quick.
saying, he called Crawford on the phone to make the fight happen.
Hey, Phantom, y'all gonna get the cook, but Phil waiting for Jimmy to get done. So Phantom and Jimmy, if y'all want to battle each other, y'all two need to go on a platform and upload a video together. But Phil waiting,
We
Phantom,
could
you
do
get
that
back
on
in.
my channel right after
Yeah,
this.
yeah, exactly. You just set it up right there. But go ahead, Jimmy, so Phil can get in because Phil want to get in, and Phantom, you got it right after that.
Yeah, thanks, bro. I'm sorry about that. I mean, dude gets emotional when he hears my voice, man. Look, it is what it is, bro. I don't trust Errol Spence. I hope the fight happens, and if it does, I think Crawford will end Errol Spence's career, and the Errolsexuals will go back to hell. So it is what it is.
Yeah, so I think homie sound like he had something to say. I think it might be good content, but don't take too long. I'm gonna go after you. What you got, boss?
Well, it's just Jimmy spews his nonsense and he tries to get away with it. And I always call him out. And we know that Spence could have took a Keith Thurman fight, and then that fight was on the table. That fight was actually being talked about, but we know, Spence held his ground and he made Crawford get in the ring. And shout out to Crawford for holding his ground and trying to maximize his value, getting what's reported to be a 10+ million guarantee. And I think that that was good on his end. But to say as far as Spence was the one holding up the fight, no, it was Terrence Crawford playing April Fool's weirdo games and playing with you niggas' emotions. Like Spence wasn't doing that.
Okay.
Spence was chilling, bro. And now you got the
Wasn't he
fight, so
cleaning
it's
up
nothing
his
really
side
to
of the street,
complain
though?
about at this point.
Was he cleaning up his side of the street? He said, "I don't want to
I
fight you. I want to
think
clean up
Phil
my
was
side of the
next,
street."
Jimmy. Next, can we
Yeah,
let
yeah,
Phil?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, let me go now. It's on me now. Uh yeah, so man, look, this is how I feel about it right here, man. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think we can trust nobody in this scenario. You know what I'm saying? Because obviously it takes both these guys to tango, and obviously we haven't got the fight yet. This just seems like the same old story being repeated time and time again. So for me personally, I need to see a lot more than just potential fight dates. I need to see more than ESPN slashing it across the screen because ESPN talked about the last time when they agreed to all the terms and shit. And look, man, I need to damn near see these boys fight week, on the scales, weighing in, and then that's when it's gonna be a reality to me. Outside of that, I think they're both full of shit, both teams. Um, They've made a spectacle of this shit, man. They've been keeping everybody swinging in the fucking wind, holding their dicks, waiting for the fucking fight, and they haven't delivered. So until they do, I'm gonna just keep it cool. That's
Okay.
it. Yeah, I'm gonna just
All
keep it
right.
cool.
Well, if they do fight though, what's your prediction there?
I don't give my prediction till the week before the fight.
Oh, okay. It's a
So,
secret.
so what I'm saying is, you know, I agree with what some of Phil is saying, some of what Jimmy's saying, and what Phantom is saying. I just look at it from this point of view. Boxing, you can't trust it. I agree with everything everybody's saying when it comes to boxing operation. So then, with that being said, I got to lean on my own life skills. So, and this is what I'm gonna lean to it. I can't speak to nobody else's experience because I ain't y'all and y'all ain't me, and that is what it is. I don't know what you niggas have done in life, but I can speak to my testament in my life. When I see a guy like Terrence Crawford, and I've enjoyed his career, there hasn't been any impediments on him getting fights at 35 that I liked. Beltran and Andongo and Victor Postol and Diaz, undefeated gold medalists. When I see a guy like that doing his thing from 135 to 140, guys refusing to fight him to some degree. They asked Lomachenko, hey, would you go up to 135? No, absolutely not. I wouldn't fight Terrence Crawford. Now he's all at 135 fighting Devin Haney. So I like the way Terrence Crawford have conducted himself throughout boxing for me. I can't say the same thing with Earl Spence. Earl Spence has showed me and verbally stated that he's the kind of guy who ain't willing to fight certain individuals based on his emotional response. And Keith Thurman is a prime example of that. So I've seen enough and I've heard enough from Earl Spence and I've seen enough and heard enough from Terrence Crawford to know, based on not being behind the scenes or behind the office, just on how a nigga move, I don't like the way Earl Spence move. I don't like shit he do. He get into car wreck after car wreck. It's always some shit. Him drinking ain't really my business. I really don't care. You know what I'm saying? But it just feels like that nigga right there is the nigga who would hold up the fight for me, if I'm just looking at it, because I ain't inside the negotiating room. I don't know all the nuances and all this research and shit like that. That's just hypotheticals and what we think we know. I'm not there with Al Heyman. And if it is Al Heyman and PBC who has a tendency to show, hey, we're going to exclude Terrence Crawford, we're not going to even put his WBO title up and acknowledge him as one of the champions. If
That
it
was
is
bullshit.
And if it is PBC and Al Heyman, that's still a representation of Earl Spence. So Earl Spence's habits and emotional response to shit show me that I don't trust that nigga. It's his fault. And I don't know what Al Heyman's end goal is for protecting his fighters, because if Earl Spence drop all these belts, what do you have at 147 at that point with value in belts? Absolutely nothing. So if it is Al Heyman and or PBC, then that's still a reflection of Earl Spence. So everything points to me with my logical sense that it's that nigga as opposed to Terrence Crawford as a balance of probability. So it's to me Earl Spence's fault.
Hey, does anybody know what the guarantee? I heard it was a guarantee they both got. Anybody know how much it was?
I heard 10 apiece, but I mean, look, we're talking fucking speculation. I don't even like getting into that shit, honestly, bro. Get these motherfuckers in the ring and let them fight.
Yeah, at the end of the day, that's what's important, you know?
Yeah, I mean, look, I heard 8 figures, so that could literally be anything. It could be 10 million, it could be 50 million. I mean, I don't, it could be anything.
Well, shit, nigga, if it ain't, I'll say this: if the shit ain't 25 a piece, they probably should have took the BLK deal. But you know, man, for everybody's sake, man, I hope the shit happen, man. If somebody asks me, that ain't good business, man. You know what I'm saying, nigga? You offer me 10, and these niggas offer me 25. Like, make business sense. I don't want to even get into that shit, because you can't make that make business sense.
Let me say
specs
this
from
after
other shit.
They bronered themselves.
Let me say this right here, right? And obviously, I think it's an extreme strategic game by PBC and Al Heyman. It's just funny how it's a major coincidence that you get 2 of the biggest fights of the year, right, back to back, literally, and then you decide to make this fight. I do think potentially that Al Heyman and PBC probably was holding up this fight. I mean, this honestly is perfect timing to say, hey, it's time for you guys to get into the ring. Let's strike while the iron's hot. You got Tank, and then you got Loma, and you got Devin. It's a lot of speculation going on boxing. I think right now, in this moment, boxing has been as exuberant as it has been in a while. And if you don't make the fight now, then I don't know when the fuck you gonna make the fight, because it's no more perfect time than to sign this motherfucker and get the shit done. So I think probably PBC did have something to do with holding the fight up in that regard, because to me the timing just seems perfect. It's like, oh, we just got this, damn, we just got this, and oh shit, they finally making the fight now. You know, people who don't pay attention to detail could potentially be looking at it from that lens. That's all I'm saying.
I don't think the speculation either, though, bro. I mean, Errol Spence literally came out and said, "I am cleaning up my side of the street," which includes Mikey Garcia, Ugas, Compo, all that dog shit no one wanted to see. He
Yeah,
not going to be tuned out.
I'm not talking about that though, Jimmy. That's not what I'm talking about. None
So
of
if
that
he
shit
held
really
out,
matters right now. No, none of that shit really matters right now because the fight is made. What I'm saying is this right here with exactly what I said.
You know,
The timing seems rather peculiar because boxing is, we've just had two of the biggest fights of the year, and now all of a sudden you're going to say, all right, let's go ahead and make this fight now. I think the news surrounding boxing with Ryan Garcia, Tank Davis, now Devin, Loma, everybody talking about this robbery shit. I mean, I think if you don't make the fight now while boxing is really in a good space, and you can potentially maximize the pay-per-views and get people excited, because what's the news that's been going around? Oh wow, man, we like this fight, but really the fight that everybody really want to see is Terrence Crawford and Earl Spence Jr. I mean, that's the narrative that's going around. So now, to me, is the time to make the fight. So I think Al Heyman probably held it up, and I think he was waiting for the perfect time to drop a legitimate contract and say, hey, look, this is how much money we can make right now, because maybe the investors wasn't there at that particular time. I don't know what's going on over there.
I don't
Nobody
think
ever
it's that
does.
peculiar,
But
honestly, Phil. I think
Well, I think
I think the reason, real quick, the reason is people started not caring about it all of a sudden. Like they knew, like people were like had a hard on for that fucking fight for so long, and now these other better fights started happening, and like people stopped talking about it, and they're like, oh shit, we better get on our horse if that happens. Same thing with Mayweather Pacquiao. Like we
you
got
know
to the
what?
point we got. Well, you're breaking up, Box.
yeah,
I
you
think
breaking up, and let Hyplo finish though. Let Hyplo finish, bro. I'm trying to hear what he's saying. He
What
might
yeah,
got a good point.
I wanna go next after Haplo if I can.
Yeah, he might got a
All
good
right.
point. Yeah, go
No
ahead.
problem. When Mayweather Pacquiao got made, it was just when we were all starting to say, "Fuck that, we're on to other bigger and better things," and they were like, "Okay, we better cash in now before it's too late." Like they like to build it up to this fucking volcano eruption, and then they hit you with it. But as soon as they start seeing the fans aren't paying as much attention, like all of a sudden the streams that we're talking about Spence Crawford every day, now they're talking about Loma and Haney or Tank and all that stuff. Boom. So now we're getting it.
Yeah,
Hopefully.
I think we're saying the same thing though, Hap. We just saying it in different ways, to be honest with you. I just
Well,
think that
I
now,
think
I just think boxing is in a good space. That's all I'm saying.
I feel you.
well,
Yeah.
I'm kind of on record predicting you were gonna get Tank and Ryan before you got Bud and Spence for like over a year. You can verify that, but I kind of knew that was gonna be the case because you kind of want to secure that fight for any potential losses going into that Spence and Crawford fight because you don't know how it's gonna sell. And since Tank and Ryan exceeded expectations, I think they were able to open up the pocketbook a little bit more on the network side of things, and
Bingo.
kind of give Crawford what he was asking for to get in the
Bingo.
ring.
There
Yeah.
you go. My man
Yeah,
got it. He got what I'm saying.
Phil said that before. I remember you did say that it might be that they ain't got enough money and they need a fight to kind of.
You-
Yeah,
exactly.
they kind of. BBC broke. That's basically what the league come down to. He's saying that they don't got enough money in the pot, and the Tank and Garcia fight put them in the green on the plus side of things. So now they can wheel and deal and pull like 10 million for these guys. I got you.
Bro, Adrian Broner said the same thing as well when he was on Twitter. He was saying that the PBC that they didn't have the money for Spence and Crawford, and they were having trouble financially. And the problem with Ryan and Tank is Ryan and Tank don't ask for the kind of guarantees that Terence Crawford and Errol Spence won, right? These guys want at least 10 plus million to show up. Guys at Ryan and Tank, they'll be happy with 2-3 million a piece, and whatever bonuses they get off the numbers, right? But guys like Crawford and Spence, they just probably command more big money up front.
All right, that makes sense. Pure man, listen, we're gonna roll out of the round. We at 2 hours and 14 minutes. I ain't gonna hold everybody up all day. I got some stuff I want to look at and continue on. Been a good conversation. So listen, on Saturday, tune in to me and Get This Smoke debate that's happening. It's gonna be 3 o'clock California time or PST, and then it's going to be 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time Zone. So, Puro, go ahead and close us out. Say what you want to say, cook on what you want to cook, and then we'll pass to the field. Go ahead, Puro. You got the flow.
I was just gonna say I just heard like everybody else heard. Looks like the fight's happening July 29th, right? Hopefully we can get this fight over with, see who's the best at welterweight is, and then we can get that division moving, man, because that division has been kind of at a stalemate for a little bit. That's all I want to say. Thanks for having me, Zone. Peace out, everybody.
Where
Later.
can they find you, Puro? Well, you got to tell them where they can find you or something.
I don't really create too much content. I do go live every now and then, but Puro Sur Central Boxeo, that's BXO, that's the channel name. But y'all can find me on any boxing panel pretty much.
Okay, no doubt. Okay, go ahead, Big Phil. Tell them what you got with the brackets. Can you give us an update and tell us what's going on with the March Madness type bracket style on the debates that we calling in the Super Series?
Yeah, man. As far as the brackets is concerned, man, we got them going. It's looking about even. It's looking about neck and neck for everybody who has filled out the brackets. So it's even money right now, man. They had a set of debates going today, Thursday. They already got the first round. You had 3 matches. Got the winners of those out of the way. So we're looking for this thing to finish up, and who knows, man? Depending on how this next round go, we may have a early winner. Who knows, man? So the bracket's going good, man. You can go and subscribe to my channel, The Fix, THAFIX Sports TV, spaces in between each word. Yeah, man. So if you hadn't already subscribed, man, you're missing out. So, we doing giveaways and all kind of shit over there, man. So y'all come and holler at your boy, man. It's up. Appreciate you having me on the show, Zone 6. It's all love.
All right. That's Big Phil Walker. He out of here. Hey, so let me give you guys a public service announcement briefly so you can kind of get an understanding. Just pumping some of the content out just to get some groundwork on some of the thought process, right? Trying to get this debate off the ground so you guys can get an example of how it's going to work. Me and Smoke, that was just some light work I gave him. Tap his potato today. Push him at the press conference in the weigh-in. Ragdoll him because Smoke pretty light in the ass. He's about a 140-pound guy, and I'm a ragdoll him on Saturday. You know what I'm saying? That's how it's gonna go down. He got Rocky Marciano. I got Jack Johnson. Legacy debate. Bring all your common sense and knowledge and your educational prowess to the debate, and we're gonna see what Smoke can do. We're gonna get him from talking in circles and make him address some real points. Also, so Smoke is 147 pounds. So and I'm 190. So 147 is ragdoll time. So y'all know how that go. So we'll say this, just so you guys can get the structure. Just putting out some content. But after the debate on Saturday, and then also I'm just talking shit to Smoke, but Smoke my buddy now. Don't try to turn us into enemies now. If he wins, he wins. I'll be proud of him. I'll be happy for him, and I will concede. But as usual, it hasn't happened yet. If I beat him, I'm gonna talk some shit, but it's gonna be short-lived because it's more so about education and just kind of establishing how the debate structure will go. And I'm glad in having the pleasure of doing it with Smoke because he's a smart guy. And it will be competitive and it will be close in his mind. But it's going to be a big fish kill for me and I'm going to be undisputed. And then we'll relinquish the belts out to you other guys who want to participate in debates. And I'll host it on my channel using me and Smoke's debate as the template. Okay. Um, I'm going to reduce the amount of lives that I'm doing. I'm just trying to get some basic concepts out. What I'm going to do is the schedule is probably going to be Tuesday morning. I like this time slot. I've been kind of playing with this time slot, and I like it. And even for the fall with football and school or moving or anything like that, I can maintain a schedule of Tuesday morning around lunchtime, around 11 o'clock. So I know for sure that I'm going to lock in on Tuesdays, and I'm probably going to lock in. I know I'm going to lock in on Thursdays at lunchtime. So 11 o'clock is probably going to be my show time, and that's 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, Tuesdays and Thursdays. Watch for the sweep. It can't be Thursday night because I know I'm going to watch football, so I'm not going to dedicate myself to that. Friday, I'm going to probably most likely hit the streets and listen to Get the Smoke Marathon podcast, and I'm probably going to float, if even that. And then after major big fights, me and the round table are going to get together, and we're going to come again to you on that Sunday morning around 11 o'clock. A lot of you guys can listen to us before your Sunday football, which is usually 1:30 Eastern Standard Time. So this will be 11 o'clock on Sunday. Only for big, massive fights, though. Massive fights. If it's not massive fights, then, I'll just float around. But Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sunday at 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time Zone. Okay? And then in the event, right, that is not a massive fight and I'm not coming on Sunday. Sundays, I'm probably going to deliver you guys some type of historical piece. I'll probably put my historical pieces within that Sunday block right before football, and then going to my 1:30 pregame ritual on Sundays. And then you guys will hear from me again Tuesday morning or Tuesday evening, however you want to call it. And then you'll hear again from me on Thursday. And that'll probably start after this debate. I just wanted to get the debate out the way with Smoke so you guys can kind of see what that's like. And the only exception that I'll make is if two guys are scheduled to do a debate, I will make time to do that Friday night, or I will try to look at the same Saturday block in which me and Smoke completed our debate based on the two combatants' time frame. So that's what it looked like. Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays. And if there's a debate that needs to take place, we'll obviously promote and tell you guys when that will take place. But the plan is to go ahead and splat, get this smoke for the Undisputed. That'll be two massive official debates within the community since I've been back for the summer. And then what I'll do is I'll relinquish the 3 belts back out to everybody to win if they choose to. Remember, when I relinquish the belts back out, whoever wins the debate, I will personally give you $50. The belt and the $50 is on the line. And if you unify or become undisputed, I will give the winner of that $100. Okay, just donating to society and for fun and to some positivity in the community. And that way, if I know debates can get combative and it can get a little testy, but instead of being such an instigator, what I will do is I will compensate you guys for your time and your space, right? And again, me and Smoke will be the template. And if Smoke win, that applies to Smoke as well too. If Smoke win and he's the undisputed champion, whenever he drums up and calls for a debate and we set the judges, I will host it. We will get a moderator. We will get 5 judges. Smoke will be the A side at that point in time. And then Smoke can set it up with me and we'll make the arrangements for Smoke because he would be the champ, and we'll have it going down on a Friday or Saturday, whatever the champ says, if he's able to win, which I doubt. So most likely it's going to be me redistributing the belts back out and doing it like that, and I'll wait for the winner of the tournament to see if boxologists might want to grab a belt. It's a lot of players that could grab the belts. We'll have 3. Put Wayne Talk in there if he chooses to. Young Jimmy say he wants some work. Puro, I think he wants some work. Method, Phantom, Buckle Up. All these guys can come in and speak on the topics, and we're going to have qualified pure judges. But me and Smoke got to set the standard. So it's a win-win regardless of who wins the debate, because you guys got to see what it's like to have 5 educated judges a moderator and two combatants go against each other without no friendly shit. But guys like Blood Boxing, who has a degree, who's smart. Phil Walker has a degree, he's smart. Ryan Clark has a degree, he's smart. These are college graduate guys. These are not just bullshitters. They've been watching boxing for a while. Rollo Jenkins, big content creator. Wayne Talk is a content creator, been in the game for years. You just seen him have a debate with Knockout 86, a boxologist, smart guy. You just seen him destroy a guy in the debate. He's a judge. These are the type of guys that we're going to have as judges on a panel, so you won't be done wrong or anybody won't feel like the judges are not qualified. There's also Jay Cotto. There's also Puro, who said he wants to be a judge. And anybody else that want to be a judge, just think about it. It ain't no rush. We'll bring you in, but you have to be qualified somewhat by making content or being a notable commenter. For instance, like Lisa Bills is one of our notable commenters, and she jumps on a lot, and she qualifies to be a judge at this point because she has logic and rationale because she's known. We're gonna do it like that. But though, if you want to be a judge, but other than that, man, that's all I got. 2 hours and 25 minutes, man. I'm out of here, finna kick it and chill, man. Appreciate y'all for joining me. Zone 6, I'm out.